Morning headlines before you step out. Midday updates while you work. Evening analysis when the day winds down. Wherever life takes you, Aneke TV keeps you informed, connected, and ahead. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Good morning and many thanks for joining us today on The Insight. Remember, the retrospect is that program where we bring to you topical issues that dominated the news headline throughout the week. And today's edition will be indeed a very special edition, as we will x-ray not just what happens in the news today, but throughout the week. I still remain your host, Uche Osai.
And I'm Good Hope Chukuma. Thanking you for coming on board here in the retrospect.
All right. Yes, Mr. Chukuma is with us, and we are equally on starting with the retrospect with a special guest on set with us. Usually when we have to bring in the guest, but this special guest, the Aneke TV in-house analyst, Mr. Res Arum. Mr. Res.
Thank you for having me, Uche.
All right. Let me ask my signature question. How is Nigeria treating you?
I've always told you that everything is fair enough for now, except that we really need more security in Nigeria.
We need more security in Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay, those are issues that we may have to look into. Yes, indeed, we need more security in Nigeria. And thank you for really joining us on the retrospect.
Thank you, Mr. Uche.
All right, moving on. This edition too is a very interesting and special edition, being that we'll be having a celebration of birthday, one of our own, our news producer and presenter, Chidima Asogwa. So wish Chidima Asogwa happy birthday to Chidima Asogwa.
Happy birthday, Chidima Asogwa. Many more happy returns.
All right, we'll still revisit that as we'll get a clip so that the face of Chidima Asogwa will be shown, where we're wishing her many happy returns. She is a very important star. Okay, that's Chidima Asogwa there on the clip. Happy birthday, Chidima Asogwa. She is a news producer and presenter of Dear Woman here on Aneke TV. So on behalf of all of us at Aneke TV, we say happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Asogwa.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Wow. Awesome.
Yes, that's our news producer and the presenter of Dear Woman. Happy birthday. And moving on, we'll take a look at today's news headlines.
All right, on the way in retrospect, we set the ball rolling with our news headlines, and we are starting these news headlines with the headlines for today. Now we go over to the Punch and we check what is happening in the other newspapers as we already have them. Now we are taking from the Vanguard. It says, allow us to carry arms to defend ourselves. Middle belt leaders, farmers agree with U.S. congressmen. Now in the Punch, we see parties race against May deadlines for primaries. Now in the Nation, Atiku's home state falls as Fin3 joins APC. Now in the Guardian, we have why echoes of state police can't be ignored. Now in the Weekend, we have security lifeline or sovereignty gamble. Now these are the 5 newspapers we have, but we're starting with the Vanguard today. It says, allow us carry arms to defend ourselves. Middle belt leaders and farmers agree with U.S. congressmen. Yes, Mr. J, I think this is how what we are seeing already from the
news headlines.
Yes.
You know, one may not be surprised to see such headlines, especially given that with the designating of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, did commission House House of members to investigate and look into the Nigerian security challenges, especially given the killing of Christians in Nigeria. And we knew that Tom Cole and Rel Moore, did visit Nigeria upon this investigation. They've given their findings back to the government of the United States, particularly President Donald Trump, their findings, and they have made recommendation. However, with us here is our analyst, Mr. Rez.
Yes.
Seeing that headline, does it set off alarm bells in your head?
Well, you see, since Trump designated Nigeria as a country of special concern, he set up a committee to look into the alleged genocide against Christians in Nigeria. And in that course of investigation, which is done both having meetings in the United States and coming into Nigeria and seeing the people firsthand that were in Benue State, they were everywhere. They had meetings and people bared their thoughts on the situation in Nigeria. And at the end of the day, they made their recommendations, submitted their reports to Donald Trump, to the White House. And part of that recommendation were to allow the farmers to carry arms for self-defense. But you see, the Firearms Act in Nigeria do not really agree with carrying of arms. It only asks that either the president or the IG of police, Inspector General of Police in Nigeria, are the ones to approve license for carrying of arms. And we are talking about the kind of arms that should be carried, shotguns, not sophisticated weapon. And I think the carrying of the arm is something that is being looked at. I don't know if Nigerian government will actually make such approval.
All right, but giving such approval, wouldn't that make Nigeria more secure than it is when you know that the person standing next to you, the one in front of you or behind you, is as armed as you may be? Perhaps people will be cautious in how they take action, especially in eliminating.
See, our level of development, our psyche to issues of arm have not grown to the level that we should be conscious of the fact that we should uphold the sanctity of human life. We have drug influenced, so many drug influenced youths in Nigeria. So when you are saying carrying arms, now that we do not carry arms, you will see, some barbaric acts that happens. You can see even the terrorist acts, those who are carrying arms. And now, if we all carry arms, it means it will be a full-blown war. Because certainly people must get annoyed and use the arms on the other. And so many others will continue to use the arms, and people will, until such a time you come to the realization that arms use is something that ought to be done with some maturity, and we'll be able to use our consciences in the best of way.
All right. Finally, before I let you go on this very issue, part of the recommendation of the panel, is that the removal of Fulani militias from confiscated productive farmland and enable the voluntary return of displaced communities to their homes. Moving forward, the panel equally recommended technical support to the government of Nigeria to reduce and then eliminate eliminate violence from armed Fulani militias, including the demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration programs to elicit weapon and support safer environment. And I ask, do you see the feasibility of being able to disarm these Fulani men and return farmland to the original inhabitants?
See, this the American recommendations are two-sided. One, farmers should have arms. What happens to the other persons who are not farmers? Secondly, talk about disarming the Fulani militants, disarming them. And then you're asking the farmers now to carry arms, and you are disarming those that are supposed to use the arms to protect themselves against. So, you see, if the Americans are going to suggest a complete disarmament, then it becomes a complete disarmament. If they are going to suggest use of arms for purpose of protection, it should be. So you find out that if you are disarming some people and arming others, it is still counterproductive, because I do not know what the carrier of the arm should be using the arm for, because you are disarming those who are coming against them. And at the same time, if you talk about the Land Use Act, the Land Use Act in Nigeria must be truly revisited in such a way that the people will know how they own their lands and who has what. Because the Fulani cattle railers believes that wherever they go, they are entitled to that same place. Because these people are nomads. These people are people who go from one place to the other. Therefore, it means that Nigeria must go back to the Land Use Act. It was a decree from the military, but because of the fact that we transmuted to democracy, it became a law and called an act. It has to be looked at. There may be some injections, there may be some, additions, there may be some parts of it that will be expunged and all that from that act, so that it will suit Nigerians. And we will not have problems about land ownership. And of course, the federal government is coming up with a policy of ranching, so that if we have ranching, then the cattle rearers will go and settle at the ranches. And then government will be able to make the environment good enough for ranching. You have your grasses grown, you have water, making sure that the ranch is always fertile and grow, and then we have all the necessary things that you need to rear your cattle. And then the issue of struggling about where to rear animals will be gone. If we have ranches, we don't have problem with animal production, because the produce will be there. We have places, you go there, you get the animals, they are taken care of. The people who are rearing them will stay around there and all that. You provide water. If it requires building a canal, you build a canal, small water from the Atlantic Ocean to that canal, and it passes through, and then you have water year-round in that place, and everything will be there. Because you know why the Fulanis are moving southwards? Because of desertification, climate change. The northern part of Nigeria, the far north, you have no rains coming. The level of rain annually is low. Within a space of time, a small space of time, the grasses stops growing, and then you don't have feed for the animals, the goats, the cow, and all that. They now start moving southwards, where you have a good vegetation, and when they get there, they're rare. But one thing about them is that they carry arms and go against anybody who stops them. And of course, they use the farms. They use the farms to feed the animals. You see, when one person's farm is source of livelihood, and then the cattle rearing is a source of livelihood, so you now impede on another person's source of livelihood. So that person will not be happy. And then in the course of that, They even go about taking over lands, chasing people away. Because those people are against what they are doing. So, government should begin to do something better than they have done to ensure that everything about land, uh, animal production, animal husbandry, or whatever, should be done with a policy that is well defined and directed for sustainability.
All right, thank you very much for that analysis on this issue. But finally, before I let you go, you've spoken quite eloquently to the fact that the Nigerian Constitution may not let people bear arms in Nigeria, and the U.S. Position is a two-pronged recommendation. One, rehabilitating the original farmers and then letting them bear arm while you try to disarm the other person. And I ask, do you think that the recommendation, just for us to close on this very issue, that recommendation for people to bear arms, for farmers to have access to arm, is that they've seen that it may be impossible to disarm the Fulani militia and get them to leave the occupied farmlands?
But even if it is going to be possible, then there's no point in making such a recommendation. They should be able to just recommend that the government of Nigeria should legalize arm usage. And it will not just be the farmers, it will just be almost everybody. Because it means that everyone will know he or she is armed, this other person after him is armed, and then you begin to now think about how to be civil, how to cut short things that will bring about the usage of the arm. Otherwise, a lot of people will die. But before then, before we come to such consciousness, we are still going to kill ourselves. Many of us, we have to kill ourselves because those boys on drugs don't mind what they are doing. They don't want to know what they are doing. So a lot of people will go down. You see the present day idea of gangsterism. They call it cultism, but what I christen it gangsterism, because what we have in Nigeria is gangster wars. And the thing has even permeated almost close to the primary school. I'm telling you that those in the secondary school from 1 to 6 are in gangster business. Then you go to the universities, what do you want to know? What do you want to see? What you see is where people carry boys, young age, drug addicted young age persons in the universities carried arms everywhere. And before you know it, even the fact that another young man looks at the girlfriend with kind of admiration could result in war, could result in killing. So these are the kind of things you have in Nigeria. So if you legalize arms, a lot of people will die before the consciousness to begin to hold ourselves back.
All right, thank you for that in-depth analysis. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue to look at the other newsworthy headlines.
Every day, your health shapes your life, your strength, your choices, your future. Because knowledge is the first step towards well-being.
This is Health Matters, only on Aneke TV.
Joining us, and we've been looking at the news headlines here on Retrospect, Mr. Goodhope.
All right. From Punch newspaper, we're having on your marks, set. Parties race against May deadline for primaries. Political parties in Nigeria face a tight 91-day window ending May 30th, 2026 to conduct and finalize their primaries for the 2027 elections following our next release of a revised timetable.
All right. This situation that we've been campaigning, calling for, being that there's been a review of the Electoral Act, now Electoral Act 2026, with the Senate's, amendments of that act going the way it is. One is seeing where the electoral umpires have now come out with a new timeline, a new electoral timeline, such that the presidential and the National Assembly elections will come on the 16th of February, while that of the state election will be on the 6th, right? So that in itself has made the whole electoral timetable to be different from what we used to know, leading to perhaps the mere confusion that we're in, where political parties are beginning to kick against, protest against this very, this decision or INEC timetable. And it leaves a lot to desire. But however, Mr. Rice, this was foretold.
Yes, it was, because while the amendment was going on at the National Assembly, the greater percentage of Nigerians and opposition that were gearing for a fine amendment of that Electoral Act lost sight of many other things, and we're concentrating on Section 60, subsection 3 of the Act of 2022, and then they were all insisting on a real-time transmission of election result. But at the end of the day, they lost sight of various other clauses that would have also helped in ensuring there's going to be a free, fair, and credible election come 2027. And now the elections, the timetable elections are supposed to go within a period. I think the INEC should be able to come out with the timeline 360 days before the handover or the change of baton, which is 29th May. But eventually, because of the lateness in the amendments, especially from the Senate, because the House of Representatives did pass theirs on 23rd of December. So at the end of the day, it was becoming late, and the Senate hurriedly did theirs. And then a whole lot of controversies came based on the Section 60, subsection 3, the arguments and the counter-arguments, the defense and the counter-defense, or the defense and the counter-defense of the Senate and all that. I mean, the defense of the Senate, the counter from the opposition and all that. And now it's been signed into law. It became now clear that doing that within 300 days has choked many political parties, especially when the amendment also had direct primaries, which means you have to go to the wards to begin to do your primaries. It's no longer that kind of delegate election. So when you're talking about presidential nomination, it becomes very difficult. So the parties are now in dilemma. Then, because there's an in-house knowledge by the APC, knowing what they were coming out with, they had earlier started doing their registration. And now they are done with the registration. So they're just set to start doing their primaries. But these other parties have not even done their registration. Some have not done, some are doing. And these are all the problems that have choked these parties. And that's why they're kicking. They're saying the time is not enough. They begin to see that they have no time to do what they ought to do. Otherwise, INEC will they'll be disqualified. Not meeting up with time, not submitting what they ought to submit, because you're supposed to submit your registrar and the register of the registered parties.
They are delegates.
Not even delegates, members
Okay, of
the
members.
party members registers. They're
Yes.
supposed to submit it by April or
That's
so.
21 days before any congress
Thank
or
you.
convention.
And all that. You see, the time is about 32 days from today or yesterday, before you would have submitted the register of members of your party nationwide to INEC, so that they'll be sure you have your register and you're doing everything within the confines of the membership you have in the register and all that. So time has choked the political, and that's why they're kicking. And now they are kicking. What will be done? The National Assembly will not go back to re-amend.
I heard APC is advising the opposition to go to court.
And even if they go to court, what will you get out from the courts? What do you think you will get from the courts? If the courts gives a decision that time should be elongated, it means there must be an amendment of the Constitution.
So,
because the time for handover of government or for another republic, another assembly, another presidency will be gone. It will not be achieved within the time frame, which means the constitution has to be amended, because the constitution also, which is on which it is on the Constitution that the Electoral Act derives its strength. So the Constitution has to be amended in such a way that the Electoral Act will now begin to get other things the way it ought to be done. So I do not see a situation where the courts will make such pronouncement. The only thing is that it is so now. Nigerians should begin to think about how to start early to seek for what they desire, their collective aspiration. You have to start making a demand on the system. If you do not demand these things on the system, then the chances of getting them will elude you. And you remember that it is assumed by a greater percentage of the population of Nigerians that their representatives at the National Assembly has abdicated in their responsibility to give them effective representation, because they have not associated themselves with the yearnings and aspirations of the general public. Instead, they have taken to what they desire, their personal desires, and the desire of the party which they represent. But you see, it should not be something that has to be partisan. Representation now, the moment you get to the National Assembly, should not be partisan. You should not have so much partisan leaning. You have to do it for the interests of Nigeria. You have to be patriotic, you have to be nationalistic, and you have to actually do it, even go down to your constituency and know the pulse of the people who ceded their franchise to you.
all right. That's very well said. But looking at the situation where the opposition political parties have called the Electoral Act a corrupted Electoral Act 2026 and kicking against it, one would recall that the spokesperson of ADC, did call that Electoral Act 2026 as a booby trap for the opposition, being that they cannot, in these circumstances, may stand the chance not to meet up with the new deadline required of them. One, you did mention it, that they would, within 21 days prior to their Congress or convention, be able to furnish INEC with digital register of their members, 21 days. And no compliance has to do with disqualification of any candidate. That's part of the Electoral Act 2026. Non-compliance of furnishing INEC with the digital register of your members will lead to automatic disqualification of any members that come out from such Congress or any member you're going to field in that election. And I ask, Is this a ploy? In the words of NNPC spokesperson, NNPP, sorry, Dapo, Johnson, when he was saying that it's totally a connivance between INEC and the president to disenfranchise and make sure that he emerges unopposed come 2027.
He only alleged a connivance. He cannot substantiate that on the interim. But the factors inherent in Nigeria played all out in what has happened. You see, when you talk about, getting things done in Nigeria, sometimes people became docile. The opposition did not come out smoking early enough to begin to influence what they need from the representatives of the people. What they did, it's like they were in slumber. And by the time the ruling party, tries to do their strategies and starts implementing, then they'll start shouting.
Okay.
They allow the ruling party to strategize to ensure that they are decimated or they are put in a tighter corner. And win. They were all there. Almost all the members of opposition, the governors in the opposition political parties, they've all cross-carpeted to APC. And we have 31 counting. And then we have the National Assembly members all moving over to APC. And you come shouting and crying. Opposition political parties should be able to put their houses in order. If you want to come in with a constructive opposition, even if the ruling party, as alleged, is trying to put in turmoil in these parties, those of you in those parties should be able to know exactly how to come over. You have your head. These are humans. You have your brain. You have brains in almost all the political parties. You'll be able to know how to surmount such problems and come out smoking and better. So, but they have not done that. What is politics? Politics, you may define it. There are various definitions from various authorities. But at the end of the day, you say it is struggle for power. And when you are struggling for power, there are people who believe in the end justifying the means. That is the Machiavellians who believes in the, in the end, Machiavellian principle.
The end justifying the means.
The end justifying the means. So, and they could use them. That is why you should be alert. That is why they say in Igbo parlance that, okay,
what does that mean?
It means that if you are not asleep, the rat will not come into your house and begin to devour what you have kept.
Okay.
Because you are asleep.
All right.
So if the opposition political parties are not asleep, the rat will not eat what they have kept.
Okay.
But it is because that many of them are in slumber. So it is a difficult situation. I think the opposition should be able to learn from the present scenario.
All right, Mr. Reyes, I've been itching to ask you, bringing it home, is it game over for these opposition political parties? And I ask this, reason being, given the new Electoral Act, it may be impossible for parties like the ADC to have a consensus candidate. Where they do not and they can't come up with a consensus candidate, they may be time-bound to begin to organize in terms of primaries. So I ask, is it game over?
How can it be a game over? You see, politics is what it is, because the people who are involved in politics know how to scale through most of what they need, require, desire. You see, we have had situations where the elections were even better planned by the opposition. And of course, the incumbent lost. They were finally planned. Yeah, the incumbent lost.
But sorry to cut in.
Yes.
You know, when we saw an opposition, that opposition seemed well prepared, and they knew what the rules were. This time, it's as if the goalpost has been shifted on these opposition political parties, and they don't seem prepared for it.
Yet, they're still going to play the game. And in the course of playing the game, they must have to think about a way out. It is about your ability to think beyond what it ought to be, beyond the ordinary. They'll have to think beyond the ordinary on how to match the incumbent ruling party.
Mr. S., let us dwell a little bit in the world of conjecture. The PDP, where they are at the moment, fragmented, led through court rulings. Do you see the possibility of a near comatose PDP being able to meet the time frame away from the PDP? Was the possibility that the ADC, with the interest of the players, speak to Atiku, speak to Rotimi Amechi, speak to Peter Obi, being able to, within this time frame, come up, because the only tenable thing for the political parties to do to scale this timetable is to come up with a consensus candidate.
It's a matter of shelving their personal interest and identifying with the collective interest and aspiration of the political party.
Is that not what the ruling party is playing on?
Come with a consensus candidate.
Is that not what the ruling party is playing on? The inability of these interests to align and present a
yes, they are playing on it, but it's not going to work because these are all human beings. They are politicians too. And remember, some of them are being in the APC. Remember that the politics of ideology is far-fetched in Nigeria. Remember that politicians in Nigeria are all the same. All these people have been in political parties, the ruling party and the other, and it's a matter of interest. They are trying to seek their interest in various political parties. Because I have not seen confinement people who are ideological politicians that confine themselves to the ideology and the beliefs of their political party. I have only seen politicians who are interested in where to align and get through to get hold of power. And that is exactly what happens in Nigeria. So they are all the same people. They know how to play those gimmicks. So the ruling political party is working very hard to be sure that they do not have all it takes to oppose them. But you will see that at the end of the day, the magics will begin to unfold itself. And these political parties will come out with presidential candidates that you may possibly work very hard to beat. And if the ruling party is not scared, even with 31 governors, if they're still not scared, at this present situation, they would have rested. But you still begin to see them mesmerizing, and the forages in the course of their mesmerization. You see their forages that they're actually working very hard to ensure that there is no strong opposition in Nigeria come 2027. But I assure you that even the PDP you said near comatose, there is no near comatose PDP. I'm beginning to see a PDP again rising. I'm beginning to see a PDP that is coming together again. For instance, in Enugu here, if you see the PDP meetings, it's like a rally. It's like a PDP rally. So I was surprised that even when the government in power belongs to APC, there's still a PDP faithful, a good number of faithfuls in PDP. In Enugu here, You see it, you'll be surprised. So PDP is coming together again. They are coming together again.
At the subnational.
Remember,
At the subnational.
And remember, at the subnational, yeah, of course, that is the one that will make the national. And remember that a court has also upheld that the Ibadan conference is legal.
By Monday, we'll get another court order.
Beautiful. That is what we have in Nigeria. So we are looking at a judiciary that someday will begin to give us what is the rightful thing to get. You see, where you get coordinate jurisdictions giving orders and counter orders, it is not healthy for the judiciary in Nigeria. And I want to identify with a doctor of philosophy holder who submitted that the tiers of not the tiers now, the arms of government have been subsumed in one, the executive. That is to say that the judiciary is no longer independent, but only doing the will of the executive. And the legislature is also doing the same, which means these arms are no longer as independent as it ought to be to get or to make do for a very beautiful checks and balances.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll return back to Mr. Goodhope. I will just leave you on this for today. We'll look into that some other time.
Thank you.
All right. In the nation's newspaper, we have Atiku's home state falls as Fintiri joins APC. Adamawa State Governor Amadu Fintiri has defected from the PDP to the APC along with his cabinet and key party executives, handing Atiku Abubakar's home state to the ruling party.
All right, Mr. S, I would come back to you immediately. You know, this is well expected. Nobody will be surprised with this move. You know, it's been in the news for long, the possibility that this governor would defect to the APC, and seeing the speaker leading other members, you know, to resign from PDP in mass over the weekend, and that was on Thursday, thereabouts, where we heard that, yes, they've resigned. We knew that, yes, there will be a movement. Perhaps that was to water the ground or create an enabling environment for the governor to come out openly, declare moving to APC. But the point here, Mr. S, that I want to draw your attention, just like the headline says, Atiku's home state falls. What's the implication of this going into 2027 election for the former vice president?
Okay, it is not a very new thing. The governor of Kano State also defected to the APC. It begins to point at the fact that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has a wand. If he doesn't have a wand, why are all these governors that were brought into power by other political parties embracing his own party at this stage? Are they scared of going to be witch hunts so as to take refuge? Or are they on a journey to ensure a second term? Or I don't know exactly what is making these governors to go to APC. But at the same time, there must be something that is very attractive that is pushing them into the ruling party. But let me see. Abubakar Atiku's son is not in ADC. I hope you know. The son of Abubakar Atiku, the former vice president and the presidential candidate, you know, several time presidential candidate, is also in APC. So, what is the big thing about Adamawa falling? The former vice president's popularity is waning.
So, in essence, what is he really going to bring to the table in ADC?
Well, he's picking his pieces and a few other, alignments he has outside even his home state to the ADC. But that is not to say because the popularity is waning, I do not see him having a chance to get their ticket.
Okay. Just still on this very issue before finally I let you rest on it. I want to ask, now APC controls about 30 states with this movement of Governor Fintri. But I want to ask, what is really the attraction, given that you just mentioned that the son of Atiku equally has moved to the APC, and we're hearing the daughter of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, vying for the ticket of APC in Ogun State, governorship ticket of APC in Ogun State as well. And I ask, just in a nutshell, what is the attraction to APC? And are we seeing orchestration to let us have an unopposed president come 2027 election?
Yeah, that is the question I also asked. That wouldn't know exactly what is attracting them, but there must be some attraction. Whether it is financial, whether it is any other thing. People are defending themselves, people are taking refuge, people want to belong to the center for power and all that. So that may be the attraction. But with time, things will unfold and one will begin to understand the attractions. By the time the election has come and gone, we know, even the nominations, because even after the nominations, we are going to begin to see those who were in APC going over to other political parties.
But can they still move to other political parties, given what it is that the oppositions are in the electoral are the same caged?
Yes, well, unlike what it were, there may be attempts to do so.
Attempts?
Yeah, attempts.
Just attempts?
So, yeah, attempts, because when you do them and it is not properly done, people will go to court to nullify them.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much on all your in-depth analysis this morning. I bet very brief because of constraints of time. But just a yes or no, have you heard about the city boy movement?
I've heard about both the city boys and the village boys
movement. Okay, I will leave that for now, and maybe if we have the opportunity to have you around, maybe on Monday, we'll look into what the city boy and the village boy movement is all about, and that's where we'll call it a day today on the week in retrospect. And thank you very much, our analysts. It was so exciting to have you around this morning.
Thank you, and God bless you.
And we hope to have more of you on the week in retrospect, Mr. S.R. And over, I am Uche Osai, still remain your host on this show, the week in retrospect.
Thank you very much, and I'm Good Hope Chuma. Have a wonderful weekend.
Anambra State, located in southeastern Nigeria, is one of the nation's most dynamic and enterprising regions. Created in 1976, it takes its name from the Anambra River, a tributary of the Niger. Its land is steeped in history, from the ancient Nri Kingdom, the cradle of Igbo civilization and spiritual authority, to the bustling commercial rise of Onitsha, one of West Africa's busiest trading cities. Every inch of its soil seems to breathe heritage, resilience, and the quiet power of innovation that defines the Igbo spirit. Anambra's people are known for their industrious drive, intellectual prowess, and unyielding creativity. Across Nigeria and beyond, they stand tall as business leaders, scholars, inventors, and professionals whose influence reaches every corner of society. From the sprawling market of Onitsha to the humming industrial machines in Nnewi, fondly called the Japan of Africa, the state exemplifies the fusion of tradition and modern enterprise. In Oka, the capital, new technology hubs and startups are springing up, harnessing the energy of a generation determined to build a future powered by knowledge and innovation. The state's endowments are immense. Anambra boasts of fertile soils that yield abundant harvest of yam, rice, cassava, and vegetables, feeding not just its people but the wider region. Sources: crude oil, natural gas, kaolin, and limestone, waiting to be fully harnessed. With a well-educated populace and a vibrant entrepreneurial culture, the state's economy is driven by small and medium-scale industries that continue to expand Nigeria's manufacturing frontiers. Culturally, Anambra is the heartbeat of Igbo identity. Age-long traditions and legendary figures like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chinua Achebe, and Dora Akunyili, whose contributions have left indelible marks on Nigeria and the world. Its towns and villages are known for strong community bonds and progressive values that inspire excellence in every field. Anambra's potential lies not only in its natural and human resources, but in the unbreakable spirit of its people, a people who see every challenge as a call to greatness. With expanding infrastructure, digital transformation, and a thriving creative scene, the state stands poised to lead Nigeria into a new era of prosperity. It is a land where heritage meets ambition, where history fuels innovation, and where the light of progress never dims.
Morning headlines before you step out. Midday updates while you work. Evening analysis when the day winds down. Wherever life takes you, Aneke TV keeps you informed, connected, and ahead. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
The financial and social strain of burial and traditional funeral ceremonies in Igbo land is becoming a major concern, according to His Royal Majesty Igwe Ambassador Dr. Lawrence O.C. Agabozo, CFR. The elder statesman and respected traditional ruler raised the issue during a lecture delivered at the just concluded 4th Synod of the Catholic Diocese of Enugu held at the Jubilee Hall of the Holy Ghost Cathedral, Enugu. Speaking on the theme burial and traditional funeral ceremonies in Igbo land and their burden on the people, Igwe Agobozo traced the evolution of funeral practices from pre-Christian times to the present. He highlighted how modernization, religion, and social competition have significantly altered traditional customs. Recalling pre-Christian Igbo society, he explained that burials were swift, often conducted within 1 or 2 days due to the absence of mortuaries. Death were viewed as having spiritual causes, prompting families to consult diviners rather than medical experts. Burials were classified based on social status, with home burials for prominent persons, communal grounds for married or disadvantaged individuals, and even forests for criminals or those believed to have died abominably. Lavish second burials were traditionally reserved for traditional or successful individuals, although early missionaries condemned some practices, including alleged human sacrifices. Igwe Agobos noted that Christianity helped eliminate discriminatory and dehumanizing burial rites, particularly those involving evil forests. Over time, population growth and migration contributed to the decline of village cemeteries, while modern mortuaries allowed families to delay funerals for extended periods, a factor now contributing to rising burial costs. Modernity has influenced a lot of changes in Igbo funeral rites, the monarch observed. He expressed concern over the growing culture of funerals for the living, where families stage elaborate ceremonies to display wealth and social status, often beyond their means. He condemned practices such as prolonged mortuary stays, house constructions, or renovation to meet burial standards, and the emerging first and second burials into extravagant events. Highlighting a recent example, he cited a high-profile burial where 200 cows were reportedly donated, describing it as inactive, as indicative of the trend. These displays place a huge burden on middle and low-income families, he warned, noting that many now take loans to fund burials of relatives who died in poverty. Efforts to curb excessives are underway. Several Igbo communities have shortened burial durations and abolished oppressive widowhood practices or rites. The Catholic Church has also introduced regulations limiting how long a corpse may remain in a mortuary. Onitsha Donidu's decision to abolish second burials for Christians was cited as a model worth emulating. The Obi of Onitsha, His Royal Majesty Igwe Nnameka Alfred Achabe, has repeatedly condemned ostentatious funeral displays, emphasizing the protection of families with modern means. In his own Ezema Olo Kingdom, Igwe Agobozo revealed that practices that demean widows such as sleeping beside corpses or compulsory head shaving have been abolished. He also warned against the emergence of committees of friends exploiting funerals to collect money fraudulently via social media. The monarch called for a return to traditional values, encouraging families to conduct burials within their means while allowing voluntary contributions from well-wishers. He urged the diocese to update regulations that balance cultural identity with Christian values, reduce financial pressure on families, and discourage extravagant spending. This paper will consider its mission accomplished, he concluded, if it contributes to resolving emerging challenges that impede the advancement of Christian burial practices in the diocese.
Humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. It is the quiet dignity of those who serve when no one claps and rise when no one cheers. In a world shouting for attention, humility whispers truth. It chooses peace over pride and silence over show. It knows that value isn't in volume and honor isn't always visible. The humble carry unseen power. They lift others without needing a pedestal. And in doing so, they rise higher than ego ever could.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Dear woman, this is a safe space for you to feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. My name is Chidima Asoba. I'm your companion on this journey of being a woman. This is my birthday month, and I have been thinking a lot about the life choices I've made that have led me to this point that I'm in, the good one, the bad ones, and the one I would want to improve on, generally speaking. And that is something that life does to you. It has a way of making you look at the things you've done and wanting to do better and set better examples. And one of the topics, or one of the areas that I've really mulled over, and I've seen myself at some point doing it right, some point doing it wrong, and the repercussions that it has shown in my life. And I decided that we're going to talk about that thing, and that is setting boundaries. So today we are discussing setting boundaries for yourself as a woman. There are so many important things and so many important aspects of your life that would benefit greatly from setting boundaries. And I know that as women, we're often taught to keep our heads down, to accept, to be the punching bag for people around us, to be submissive, or not even submissive, endure, to accept. You keep accepting until there is no room for you to pour. You know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to be filled for you to pour love out. If you are emotionally exhausted, if you're emotionally bare, there's no way you're going to pour to people around you. Now let's talk about setting boundaries. There are so many key areas of boundaries that you can set to help improve your life and your mental and emotional and physical state generally. But let's focus on a few today. Let's look at the first one, which is setting emotional or mental boundaries. Now, setting emotional or mental boundaries is simply protecting your emotions, protecting your mental health, protecting yourself emotionally and mentally from things and people that drain you. This also brings me to I forgot to define boundaries. Boundaries are limits that you set on how much you can take. It is your limit on your emotions, your time, your energy, your space. The limit of what you can take. Once you get there, it is over. That is what the meaning of setting. That's the meaning of boundaries. Boundaries is the limit of what you can take, the limit of what you can accept, the limit of what is okay by you, or what someone can do and get away with. That is boundaries. Back to emotional and mental boundaries. Emotional and mental boundaries are basically the boundaries that you set to protect your peace, to protect your health, your mental and emotional health, to make sure that you are protecting yourself mentally, your mind, your emotions, because you know that there's something that can happen and that thing entirely ruins your day, ruins your activity, your mood. Everything about you is just unhinged for that particular day or an entire week, depending on how serious that thing might be. So setting boundaries like this helps you to protect it and ensure that those things do not happen. Let's talk about the ways you can protect. Let me give you an example. For instance, people often tend to dump their issues on other people. Like, they just come, they pour, they tell you this, they tell you that, they tell you this, always telling you what is going on in their life. And unconsciously, you become invested in what's happening, and it tends to bother you. And most especially for us women, we tend to internalize most things, and we allow it bother us. Somebody's issues, you can carry it on your head like no man's business, and it's weighing on you and bothering you so much. I'll give you an example. So I had this group of friends at the time, and anytime they needed advice, they would come to me, tell me that this is, please, what can I do? And I'll tell the person what to do. Now, by listening and by telling them what to do, I'm already invested in their story, in what is going on with them. After giving them my candid advice, they will go and do something else, come back and tell me the repercussion of what they did, and I'll still give them more advice. the cycle continued until I saw that, okay, this thing is weighing on me. Each time they come and they tell me that this happened, I carry it with me, and it's like a heavy burden or a heavy load on my head, and it kept affecting me. So I told myself, I set my boundaries. I didn't shout, I didn't explain, I didn't talk. What I told myself was that each time these people come for advice, I will channel them to God and ask them to go to God, because He's going to answer them and give them what to do. And that's exactly what I started doing. Whenever they come to me, tell me this, that, I will tell them simply, just talk to God, pray about it. God will definitely reveal what you're supposed to do to you. Because clearly what they needed was God and not my advice. So I was not going to be invested in whatever their situations or their problem was any longer. That is it. So learn how to set your boundaries to protect your peace, protect your emotional and mental health. This can also be when someone is like keeping malice with you. So you can decide to leave that space to ensure that you're not in that space to accept those kind of attitudes. When someone close to you is like keeping malice, acting some kind of way, and it tends to affect you. Maybe you're the kind of person that cannot stay in a conflict area. Just find a way to like check out or like talk to that person and just set your boundaries clear and straight. Like, if you're going to be in this space together, I do not appreciate you being this type of person. If you're going to be this type of person, let's set clear boundaries on what we cannot do and cannot, because I don't want to keep putting myself in an emotional place for you to do this type of things to me. That is the way you can set your emotional boundary. The next boundary you can set is your time. Your time. There are people that they don't have respect for people's time. They can call you at any time. They can just call you up. Please, I need you to do this for me. Oh, please, I need you. Oh, they just call you up at any time. They don't respect your time. You guys can even fix an appointment of what you're supposed to do at so and so time. They don't respect it. They don't mind it. It doesn't bother them. It doesn't concern them. They just do their things at any time. And when you have this kind of people, it is important that you set your time, because time is money. And frankly, I didn't really understand this. I remember that time in school when there was something I needed somebody to do for me, and I just told the person, please, I need you to do this for me. And the person gave me the charge. I was shocked. And I asked the person, this small thing, that's why you're charging this amount. The person told me that time is money. The person told me that time is money, that this thing will require his time to do. So of course I have to pay for it. But this was something that I previously would do for people for free. And now that particular event totally changed the way I see things. There are things that I would do for free, but then there are things that we have to talk. I would do it for free to this extent, but once it's more than this extent, we have to be paying me. Time is money. I cannot keep wasting my time and energy on you. Nowadays, I rather protect my time and energy, take my time to rest if I'm not benefiting anything from that thing, and if I'm not seeing anything concrete that I'm giving that thing. Let's say I'm not volunteering, I'm not filling people's cups, because I know of this saying that says you're not useful if you can't be used. So I just know how to navigate the time where I'm being overused and when I'm being moderately used. So when I'm being moderately used, I would keep coming up, keep showing up. But when I'm being overused, I tend to back away with everything, but you have to pay the bills, right? So protect your time, protect your energy, and set boundaries around these things. The third boundary that you definitely need to set is your physical boundaries. That is your personal space, giving yourself rest, ability to rest when you are tired. Not overworking yourself to satisfy people. These are things that you have to set for yourself, because it is going to affect you. Imagine if you are tired, and because you're trying to people please, you are working extra hours for people that probably will not appreciate it. Because one thing about boundaries is that when you sacrifice without setting boundaries, it often leads to resentment. And when you love without boundaries, it leads to emotional turmoil. And when you're just acting out life without boundaries, you are underappreciated and over-accessible. This over-accessibility goes to our point on setting time boundaries, which we're trying to focus on this third point, which is physical boundaries. Physical boundaries you have to set if you want to be touched, you don't want to be touched. Someone tries to touch you in a certain kind of way, you're like, oh no, please don't touch me that way, because I'm not comfortable with that. Someone tries to invade your space, you're like, no. Let me just give you an instance. Maybe you're in your home, because our parents, they are fond of this one. You have your own home, your own place, and maybe your mom calls you, oh, that your aunties, uncles, daughters, brothers, junior sister. is coming to the state you are in, and they want you to accommodate her just for 1 year so that she can find her footing or find her place. And maybe you've heard so much bad things about this person and how their character is awfully bad, and your mom is like, forget that thing, now your sister, just accommodate her just for 1 year, you know. Now your sister, now your blood, don't now one blood. Because one of the things our parents are often experts in is emotional manipulation. They know how to emotionally, you know, twist and turn you to do what they want you to do. You can just say, for the sake of my physical well-being, Mom, I don't want this person in my space. I don't want to have to deal with this person's character. I would rather bring the money and rent an apartment for that person elsewhere, or rather contribute this amount to renting an apartment for this person elsewhere. We can meet up once in a while and I'll show the person the ropes in this state, but I don't want that person in my direct physical space. These are the ways you can set boundaries for yourself physically. You know, give yourself time to rest. I also know that sometimes we hear the saying, also people saying, oh, I don't cook, I don't clean. Sometimes it just sounds like that, which I don't really agree, because I feel like cooking, cleaning, these are basic life skills that can save you. Imagine wanting to lose weight or go on a health journey and you can't cook, you can't clean, you are focused entirely on eating out. You don't know what they are serving you, the spices they are using, if it's good for your health, if it's causing anything to your health, you don't know, but you're constantly downing outside food rather than making the food yourself. Just imagine, catastrophe, yes. But that's not what I was talking about. So imagine people just saying, okay, fine, they just say, I don't cook, I don't clean, and it just sounds like that, you know. But in essence, sometimes what these people are trying to say is, okay, I'm setting physical boundaries around myself. I prefer to get rest than to spend how many hours cleaning and cooking for what? I just need to rest. I like resting. I like my peace. I'm going to rest. Basically, that's what they can be saying. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm just trying to help you interpret what physical boundaries could look like. The first boundary you need to set is your communication boundaries. How people talk to you. Oh my God, how people talk to you is important. People can sometimes be disrespectful, and what you allow the first time, you are allowing to continue and rehappen. So when people talk to you disrespectfully, when people say things that are demeaning, when people say things that are belittling, when people try to act like you don't have sense, show them that you have sense by setting your communication boundaries. Tell them what you don't like, what you like, what they should stop, how they shouldn't talk to you that way, how you don't appreciate being spoken to in that kind of way. You know, you have to learn to set your boundaries. What is the edge? What is that thing that once that person says, you have to clear the person immediately? I know that this can be sometimes tough for us that are people pleasers, but it's a work in progress. It's not something that you just perfect. You just have to start little by little, and before you know it, you are a complete pro at setting boundaries for yourself. Tell people what they shouldn't say to you. When there's something that someone will say to you, immediately you clear the person. I don't like this. I don't like the way you're talking to me. I don't appreciate it. Please don't speak to me like that ever again. Thank you. You know, learn to set your communication boundaries. Things that people are allowed to say to you, things they're not allowed to say to you, things like that. Let them know that you don't appreciate things like this. You know, you don't appreciate it. They shouldn't. It shouldn't fly. Don't allow it fly. Don't allow disrespect to fly, because when you allow disrespect to fly, it's going to happen over and over again. One thing I've realized with human beings is that we are ultimately all selfish people. Yes, you see, human beings, we are all selfish people, and you would think that when you give and give and give and give, that people will have sense and realize, oh, this person has been giving me a lot, or this person has been tolerating me a lot, or this person has been accepting of my bad behavior a lot. I should give this person some space. I should appreciate this person. No, because let me just use the local lingua. If you give person allow, they will not take allowance. Once you keep accepting and accepting, instead of to get the cue that, okay, you have been accepting, you have been tolerating, you have been all nice, all good, they should leave you and move on. No, they will not see as a punching bag. Okay, give her more, give her more, give her more, give her more, give her more. That's what they just want to do. They just want to disrespect you some more. They want to, you know, get free labor from you. So many ways they can disrespect your time, your energy, and disrupt your emotional well-being. That is why you need to speak up for yourself and clearly state your boundaries so that people don't move past it. So the next boundary you need to set is your financial boundaries. This is an important topic, especially for us women. Oftentimes, because we like to care, we like to provide, we like to protect, we like to nurture, we like to just be there for people that we love. We often tend to do that with our finances. Sometimes you don't even have enough, but the small one that you have, you are giving to everybody. Somebody calls you, your friend calls you, and it's like, oh, please, I have a certain problem, blah, 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 and you just want to give. One of the things I've told myself is, if I see that you are financially reckless, I'm not going to give you my money. What I'm going to do is, I'd rather take that money that I will give to you and give it to a needy person, someone that cannot live without it. Or better still, I'll take myself out and sponsor myself by myself. I'd rather you spend my money frivolously than give it to someone who is financially reckless. Because one thing with people that are financially reckless is that they don't really appreciate the money you are giving them. They feel like they feel entitled to it. And also people with entitlement mentality. You know, people in Africa sometimes we tend to have this entitlement mentality. They feel like, yes, because you are my friend, because you are my sibling, because you are my parents, because you are my child, I'm entitled to your money. You're not entitled to anybody's money. I don't even think I'm entitled to anybody's money. All I can do is ask. If I can. Most times I hate asking. But if I ask and you give it to me, I'll be so grateful, because I know what it means to like work hard and get that money. But when people are constantly calling you up, asking for money, when they are being financially reckless with the money they are getting, when they are not doing anything to earn their own money, when they just give you story upon story upon story, it is your clear right to set your financial boundary. Another way I want to help you see this is, let's say that you set your monthly goal that every month I'm going to be saving 150,000 naira. Come rain, come shine, I'm going to be saving 150,000 naira. Now, at the end of the month, you already done your budgeting. The 150 savings is clear. You have your remaining 100k that is meant to carry you for the month. But then somebody calls you, and you know that without this 100k, you are done. Like, there is nothing that will make you survive. Fill your gas, pay for your electricity bills, pay for your water bills, pay for your waste bills without this particular 100k being complete. If it's not complete, you're not going to be able to meet up with everything you're supposed to meet up for the month. And someone calls you and the person tells you, oh, blah, 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 blah. Because oftentimes the stories are touching. The person calls you, tells you all of those things, and you are forced, or you now decide to take from your savings plan, because you really set your financial goal for the year. You now dip your hand into that money that you're about to save and give the person, just so that the person is happy, the person is okay. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Do your savings. People will somehow survive. And for me, that's what I've really told myself, is that no matter how bad things feel emotionally, financially, I'm going to survive. There's going to be a way. I don't mind if I don't know what it will take me, but I'm going to do the things that I can legally to survive. Now, don't quote me wrong. I'm not saying that when someone is in need of that financial assistance, you shouldn't give it to them. But what I'm saying is, as a person, tend to know the people who are like leeches around you, who are like pests around you, who constantly take and take and take and take, without meaningful explanation, without working hard for themselves, without even trying for themselves, but they just see you as the person that they can keep calling, keep milking from. When you have people like that, you have to set clear financial boundaries. Let me use an example. You are an older daughter and you're working hard, training your siblings in school, providing for them. And let's say you give your sibling money to pay for school fees, and then one of them is, let's say you have two siblings, I don't pray, it's not your portion in Jesus' name. I'm just giving you an instance that you pay for their school fees, then one of them decides to play Bet Niger with the school fees, the other one decides to go shopping with the school fees, and then you give them the next school fees again, they do another thing with it. You get my point? You don't keep giving them, allow them to stay at home to defer the admission for a while, so that they will have sense. That's just what I'm trying to say. Now, the bonus tip for setting boundaries is your relationship boundaries. And this is an area that I'm personally working on, and I think it's important. You set boundaries around your relationship, around your marriage, your relationship. You get the point? Set boundaries around them. Know what people shouldn't say about your partner. When people say it, you tell them, I don't like this, don't talk about my partner like this. Do things that you shouldn't tell your people, your family, your friends about your partner, in order to protect the image of your partner to them. Set clear boundaries. Oftentimes, people just like to encroach into your relationship and be all over in your space, tell you how to do this, tell you how not to do that, tell you how, things like that. Learn how to set boundaries when it comes to your relationship. This it will help you protect the sanctity. This will help you protect the sanctity of your relationship. When people bring their personal bias, personal opinions into your relationship, it will often lead to problem, because guess what? They did not start a relationship with you. They are not in that relationship with you. And I tell you that you are not reporting 100% of everything that's going on in your relationship with them. It's just like reported speech. Some will be lost in translation. And when they are giving you advice, they are giving you advice from all the bad experiences they've had. They will give you bad advice from all they have heard. They will give you bad advice from all the negative prejudice they have in their minds and hearts. And you in turn, you are carrying those things into your own relationship. Guess what? You are bringing bad bulls, and it's going to cause issues. Let you set clear boundaries. It's an area I'm working on, and it's an area I feel like every other person should be working on as well. So that is it for the boundaries you are meant to set for yourself as a woman. Yes. Now let's talk about ways that you can set these boundaries. Oftentimes, I don't know why I'm saying just oftentimes. So setting boundaries does not have to be loud. It can be quiet, like unannounced. You're just doing your thing. Like when I told you that my friends, I decided to just start referring them to God. I didn't tell them that, friends, if you don't take my advice, I'm going to start referring you to God. No, I just started doing it. You can also say no. Someone can call you up. Please do this, do this, this. No. No is a complete sentence. I myself, I try to practice it. No. No is a complete sentence. No explanation. No, I'm not. This is something my husband does, and I admire it about him sometimes, even though it can be annoying. But I admire it about him sometimes, and I just want to learn how to do it. No. Can you do this for me? No. It is a complete sentence. No. And then try to ask yourself, when something happens, I want you to ask yourself, has this person exceeded the limit? Always know where your limit is. What is the thing that once somebody does, they have exceeded your limit? Once you find out what those things are, you will be able to know when to cut off the insults, when to cut off that person, when to leave that person, from your life, when to exclude that person. That is what happens when you have your clear boundaries. So first, it doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be quiet, and you're already doing it. Second, no. Learn how to say no. Learn how to say no. When someone invites you out and you don't want to go out, no. When someone asks you about your relationship, learn how to say, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Clear, short sentences that will just set clear boundaries. Another thing I want you to know is that when you start setting boundaries for yourself, people are often going to feel offended. Imagine if you have something that you're going to take freely. Imagine if there's a shopping mall that someone says, shop as you like, you are not going to pay. And every time you need something, you take your basket, your shopping cart to that shopping mall, you pack everything you need, and you go home without paying for it. And one day someone locks that shopping mall and says, you can't take anything you want, you have to now pay for it. Meanwhile, you have been taking things for over a year or years without paying, and all of a sudden someone is asking you to pay. You'll be upset. That's the same way it is with boundaries. When someone has free access to you, they're always getting what they want with you, always getting their way with you. They insult you, they go free. They take your time and energy, they drain you, they go free. They take your money, they go free. They are causing issues in your relationship, they go free. And all of a sudden you are telling them, no, this is no longer acceptable. Of course they are going to be upset. So understand it and accept it. Acknowledge it and move on from it. People are going to be upset when you start showing up for yourself. Accept it and move on from it. Okay, it's going to happen. Don't let it affect you. Don't let it bother you. Just accept it and move on. People are going to, cut you off. Those are people that are meant to go. The main ones that are meant to stay, they are going to come. And when they come, trust me, you're going to even know how amazing this life can be with those people that are coming. This is what I feel you should do to help improve your life, give you peace, give you joy, give you harmony. Okay? Now for our board of words, let's find out what our word is for this particular week. Okay. I'm seeing Oprah Winfrey. Okay. I turned my word. This is quite insightful. I turned my wounds into wisdom. Wow. You see all those times they've made you question yourself, all those times they've belittled you, all those times you find yourself worrying constantly and, just feeling some kind of way because of this person's attitude or what this person has done, what this person has said, and you find yourself exhausted from going places you don't want to go in, being in physical spots you don't want to be in, over-exerting yourself for other people, and they give a no hoots about you. All those times, remind yourself of them at this point and learn from your wounds, okay? learn from your wounds, move from it, and don't allow yourself to keep being in that situation that keeps you stuck, keeps you angry, keeps you resentful, keeps you in a negative energy, keeps you keeping your priorities and your good self in places that are not worth it. Get yourself away from that place and do better. My name is Chidima Asogwa, and I'm your companion on this journey of being a woman. And this is Aneke TV, and you can find Dear Woman every Wednesday on Aneke TV and every Saturday a replay on Aneke TV. Don't touch that dial. Subscribe and drop a comment. Which boundaries are you clearly going to be setting this new month or this new year if you're my birthday mate? And if you're not going to be setting any clear new boundaries, tell me other boundaries that you already established along the line and how it works for you. Thank you.
Daalụ gị bụ onye ọma na-ene n'anyị. Ụfọdụ si na asụsụ Igbo na-anazi ana. N'echiche nke gị, ọ dị gị ka asụsụ Igbo ọ na-ana? Na mmemme nke eme tata bụ ichetela anyị na asụsụ anyị dị mkpa karịa. Kedu ka isi eme asụsụ nke gị? Ọtụtụ anyị bụ ndị nna ada asụziri ụmụ anyị asụsụ Igbo. Ọtụtụ ndị nna ada asụziri ụmụ anyị asụsụ Igbo. Ụfọdụ na-eme ha sụọ asụsụ Igbo ọ dị ha ka ha na-eneda ha anya. Mana tata site n'ọnụ okwu ndị mmadụ bịara ebe a n'ihe mmemme emere Igbo efula, anyị ga-afụ na ọ dị mkpa ka anyị kwalite asụsụ anyị. Gị bụ onye n'ebe ahụ, ka esi akwalite asụsụ nke gị? Ka anyị gee ntị ihe ndị mmadụ kwuo gbasara asụsụ Igbo. Naanị ihe ị ga-eme bụ sonyelu m.
Ndị nọ n'obodo isaa na-asụ Igbo: Abia, Anambra, Delta, Ebonyi, Enugu, Imo na Rivers. Na ndị na-asụ Igbo, ụmụ nwanyị na-asụ Igbo na Nigeria yana ofesi. Anyị nwere ihe a na-akpọ ECOSOC status. Ihe ọ pụtara na anyị denyere afa na United Nations. Na-akpọ ọgụ ụmụ nwanyị ndị Igbo wee na-eje New York bụ headquarters United Nations. Ebe ahụ ka a na-enwe meeting maka ụmụ nwanyị ụwa niile. O dị mkparị nne ihe o ji dị anyị nwabụ ndị ụmụada ka o bido na-asụ sụkụsụkụ n'obi. Oge anyị nọ na UNESCO si na ruo 50 years Igbo anwụrụ, anyị si Chukwu ekwe n'ife ọjọọ, anyị wee bido. Even Bismarck so anyị ya ọjị anyị wee na-eti akpọ ndị ụmụ anyị 7 Igbo speakers, anyị nye ha ihe a na-akpọ kọp ma imete ọfụma. Nke izizi anyị mee onye agbụgba eruru eke na ọ bụzi dọkịta emere nke ndị university nyanwa ebunye ya moto maka ọ sụrụ Igbo ọfụma. So ọ na-asụ anyị fụrụ ana ndị niile na-asụ Igbo si ka asụrụ Igbo ọ na-asụ anyị maka agha bezi ndị be anyị werezie Igbo anyị na-eme yeye na-eme ihe sọrọ ha. Ụfọdụ nọkọta ha tinye afa ha tinye sọn ka e ghara ịma na ha bụ Igbo. bụ sọsọ ya ihe a na-eme erika ụfọdụ ifele ekwerefe asụ Igbo dịke n'asụsụ dịka Igbo ka ifele ijee n'ụwa niile anyị bụ the lost tribe of Israel ụwa niile nwere onye amara ndị Igbo anyị bịazie ebe anyị esi nwatakịrị go and greet uncle ọ asụsụ Igbo jee kene nwanne gị kpọmati ya mba anyị ama otu a ihe kacha njọ bụ asụsụ ịnọ nke izizi bụ nwe prọfesọ si na asụsụ ịnọ ị na-akụziri nwa gị asụsụ bego ya Igbo na ọ ga-eji sụọ asụsụ ịnọ nke ya bụ na onwe ya the prọfesọ ụmụ ya niile nwe A na English. Nna m amụ m na Jeba, Niger State, zụọ m na Lagos. My father bụ federal contractor. Anyị batara na ba ya kpọchie gate ịsụọ oyibo asụsụ ọzọ ike ga ọkpọ. So o mere anyị ebe a nọ m na-asụ Igbo, m na-asụ Hausa, m na-asụ Nupe, m na-asụ oyibo. Ya prọfesọ ihe o kwuru bụ eziokwu. Kedizi ihe anyị na ọ bụ na nwatakịrị amụtara Igbo o menwezi asụsụ ọ ga-eji na-agbanwe ruo n'oyibo translating ma ọ bụrụ ndị ọcha ha nwerezi language to translate from their own mother tongue to English fe nwere fa na-asụzi nkanka oyibo they come and they go ịmago that type of thing ya ndị be anyị bido tata onye ọbụla na-asụba Igbo na Igbo dị mkpa ekene m.
Mụ bụ onye isi otu Igbo Efula, otu na-akwalite asụsụ Igbo. Amakoside na atụmatụ otu mba ụwa bụ United Nations abalị 21 ọnwa Febụwarị kwa afọ ọbụla bụ ụbọchị mba ụwa maka asụsụ, mana anyị ile anya na nke afọ a ga-adaba ụbọchị Satọde mere eji ebutezi mmemme a. Taa bụ ụbọchị Mọnde. Kedu ya kwuru bịa ebe a oge gara aga ụfọdụ si na asụsụ Igbo na-anwụzi anwụ, ọ na-achọ ịnwụ wee nwunye anya pee, ma anyị si mba, anyị si olo, anyị si ọdị iwu na ọ bụrụ na ndị na-asụ Igbo anwụghị na asụ anyị agaghị anwụ. Mere anyị ji ebido ya bụ otu a nke mụ bụ onye isi ya. Mmadụ dịka Igwe Ambasadọ LOC Agụbụzụ bụ nna onye nlekọta onye isi oche otu bọọdụ nlekọta ya chairman board of trustees otu a ebumnuche anyị ebumnobi anyị bụ otu ihe bụ gịnị nkwalite asụsụ Igbo ya bụ eji wee ihe otu a bụ Igbo efula ọrụ anyị adịghị ọtụtụ ọ dị so otu kedu ya ga-eme ka asụ Igbo wee mee gịnị kama ọ ga-anwụ ka ọ bawanye ma too wekara asụ ndị ọzọ ya bịa taa bụ ime gịnị ewee maka ọ ga-esi ọkwa onye ukwu wara ele anya hụ na ahụrụ ụmụ akwụkwọ ebe a gara ọ bụ ụmụ akwụkwọ ya bụ ọdịnihu asụsụ Igbo a na-ekwu maka ya isiokwu nke afọ wee bụ gịnị nnewu na-ata agbara ụmụ ya na-ele anya n'ọnụ gara ndị nne ka ọ dịrị ịkụzi ụmụaka asụsụ karịa ndị nna nwekwa ọrụ ha maka nnekọta nwa gwara anyị na ọ bụrụ oge nwa nọ n'afọ ya na nne na-eme mkparịta ụka kwe na nghọta ka a mụtara nwa na-enye ya ara nne ya na-asụrụ ya asụ ihe na-asụrụ ya bụ ya kesịkpọ ya mọra tọngụ bụ fada tọngụ anyị bụ ụmụ nwoke mana ndị nne kachara nke ahụ ya ka anyị ji bịa taa ka anyị mee ka anyị ga-esi eme ka ya bụ asụsụ anyị bụrụ nke ga-aga nke ọma ọrụ gọọmenti kachakwa maka ite iwu nke mbụ ka ọ si kwuo ugbuazi aga na ọtụtụ ụlọ akwụkwọ kacha nke private ya nke ndị mmadụ nkịtị nwe a na-eji bekee akụzi Igbo mma ga-aga akpụ Igbo ka akpụ ya ngiri Igbo gọọmenti ga-eti iwu ka a chọọ ndị gụrụ Igbo ndị mara asụ Igbo ka ha na-akụzi Igbo na asụ Igbo emere French eji bekee akụzi French ka ọ na-aghọta ya bụ ihe ndị m chọrọ ka gọọmenti mee gọọmenti gara akwụrụkwa anyị bụ ndị ọrụ asụ Igbo agbanyere ajara ukwu ka ọrụ anyị wee gaziere anyị nke ọma ya bụ ihe ọrụ dị gọọmenti tie iwu ọ ga-eme ka asụ Igbo wee dị ndụ wee tọọ atọọ ndị Igbo si na ọ bụrụ ihe a na-ata ata agwụghị na agba agaghị ezu ike ya anyị amalitago ya bụ ọrụ mana ndị ya asụkwa na ite a anaghị eyi n'otu nta mmiri ya a na-esi nri dị a na-agba mmiri wee na-eye ya ka ebido ọrụ a agara agwakwa ike anyị ka Chukwu enye aka ka ihe ha na-eme wee gazuo maka ndị nne nwere ọrụ ndị nna nwere ọrụ ndị gọọmenti nwere ọrụ kama anyị na-anwa Chukwu ga-eti aka ka o wee gaa nke ọma ndewonu.
Abụkwa m onye otu Igbo efula anyị bụ ndị na-akwalite Igbo ihe anyị na-eme bụ mmemme Igbo maka na Igbo na-efuzi efu ndị be anyị ada asụzi Igbo ada emezi mmemme Igbo ụfọdụ ada achọzi iso wee mee ụfọdụ ada afụpụ ya ka ihe a na-eme eme so anyị wee kpọkarịta onwe anyị dị mmadụ ole ma ole kpọkarịta onwe anyị wee sị mba na anyị ga na-eme emume ya na-egosi na Igbo ama efu wee kpọọ onwe anyị Igbo efula otu a so na otu anyị na-eme ya taa anyị kpọgachakwala ọtụtụ ndị mmadụ ka ha bịa so kwalite Igbo efula ma ndị ụmụ akwụkwọ ahụ ma ndị mmadụ nkịtị ma ọfịs dị iche iche ụlọ ọrụ dị iche iche anyị kpọtachakwara ha ebe a ka ha bịa so anyị kwalite Igbo efula ọ ya ka anyị ji kpọkwuo ụmụ unu bụ ndị Aneke ma ndị Afịa ka unu wee solu wee gbasa ozi maka Igbo efula ka ndị mmadụ malụkwa na aka na-asụ Igbo andị na Igbo ama efulata ka anyị ṅomikwalụ ndị Yoruba na ndị Awụsa maka ha ejiri asụsụ ha egwu chaa ọ bụgodị ndị n'obodo oyibo asị na ịga n'ogologo ụzọ London ihe ị ga na-anụ bụ mgbatị ọ bụrụ Yoruba mana ndị be anyị bụ ndị Igbo enwela ịsụ oyibo enwego m ọtụtụ ihe experience dị iche iche mụ nwa nwegolu gbasara ihe Igbo a na ị ga na-asụrụ nwanne gị Igbo ọsọlụ ya n'oyibo I don't understand Igbo mana mmadụ si gị jee ebe ni onye Igbo bụ unu na ya jee ka ịkọwala ya nsogbu gị mụnwa na onwe m ebe a ihe a bụ ihe mụnwa experience go wee jebe wee luo wee sụba Igbo ihe onye atapụ ọnụ gwa m bụ I don't understand Igbo mgbe sụbazie n'oyibo ọ na-aghọta ịghọta mana ama m na ọ bụrụ ndị Yoruba ma ọ bụ ndị Awụsa ịsụrụ Yoruba sụọ Awụsa ozugbo ọ bụgodị na efe adịghọla ya imelụ gị ihe anwụ mebi ozugbo mana ndị be anyị bụ ịsụọ Igbo ịma na ikotego okwu mgbe okwu ikote ya ije bido ịma ndị be anyị nwelụ ụdị omume ha na-eme gacha and onye mmebe nke ya nwanne ya efu ya onwomili ya maka mgbe m nwa na-azụkwa nwa nke m o nwere ndị bịa sị m Igbo ka iji azụ nwa gị kedu ihe kpata iji asụlụ nwa gị Igbo ka ihe menụ na ịda asụli oyibo na onye ọbụla na-asụ oyibo nwee sị maka gịnị na Igbo bụ asụsụ ndị be anyị nọọ oyibo ka a na-amụ ịghọtago ada amụ Igbo amụ a na-asụ Igbo asụ n'oyibo ka anyị ya amụ maka na oyibo abụrụ asụsụ anyị. Ọ bụrụ ọnụ ịbịa sụchalụ nwa gị oyibo ịbịa dute onye ya asụbali ya Igbo kụzibeli ya Igbo ịkwụba ụgwọ ewee kụzibeli ya Igbo. Ụfọdụ na-emechi ụmụ ihe a ka ọ bụrụ ndị oyibo sị na ọka ewee belong to the society ka ndị society wee nabata ha ka afụkwa na ha so n'ihe a na-eme. Mana kedu onye soro n'ihe a na-eme? Ndị a niile na-asụcha Igbo na-asụ oyibo ọfụma, ndị a nọcha n'ọkwa ọchịchị dị iche iche ma ezigbote ọkwa dị iche iche bụ ndị jecha ihe a na-akpọ community school andọ ha nwasụrụ ọkpụrụ n'ala Igbo, mana ha na-asụcha oyibo taa. Anyị asụrụ mmadụ asụ n'oyibo, mmadụ na-asụ asụsụ dị ụzọ ise, o nwere ihe o mee ihe na genu ka ọ bụrụ onye anwa, uru ka ọ bụrụ onye anwa na ị na-asụ asụsụ n'ụzọ ise. Mana ịbịazie isi nwatakịrị ya asụba ofu asụsụ, mgbe a ka onye a na-elu uzu n'ihe, mgbe a ka ọ mee na anything. Maka na ịmalụ Igbo malụ oyibo malụ Hausa malụ Yoruba malụ Efik malụkwuo ma French malụ German, o nwere ihe onye ọ napụrụ onye anwa. Mana ndị be anyị ka uche anyị si wee dịka bụ ka a na-asụsụ oyibo asịghị Igbo anyị na-asụ. Afụgo m ndị si m Igbo a na-asụ gịnị ka asụtagodi, kedu ihe asụtago since asụbala Igbo? And ịbịa anyị n'anya ndị abụrụ ndị macha ihe, ndị iche na ha ma ihe, ọ bụrụ because for me ha marọ ihe, mana ndị iche na ha macha ihe ha bịazie na-asịghị na ụmụ ha ma asụnata Igbo na Igbo ha na-asụ na onwebeghị ihe asụchatala ya, ngwa ha sụbanụsụ oyibo ahụ a na-asụ gịnị ka ha sụtago. So ifu na ụfọdụ na-eme maka na ma ụmụ onye a na-asụ oyibo ka ụmụ ya sokwuolu ịnazie na vileji ịna n'ime obodo ebe a ka ị ga-afụnụ nke bụ oyibo. Maka na ndị si na taụnụ na-anata ha natazie ha na-asụlụ ha oyibo, so ha chọrọ igosikwa ha na ha nwa na onwe ha makwa asụ oyibo. Ịlụzie vileji na obodo onwezi onye na-asụ obodo ha, ihe a na-asụzi bụ oyibo ka ha nwee ike wee daba n'ihe ndị si na township nata na-eme. Ịghọtago? Maka abịa wele oyibo ọ bụrụ ndị oyibo asị na intimidate ha, so ha chọrọ ka intimidate ha nwa na-asụzikwa oyibo nke ha. And ka na-eme ka ụmụ mama Ngozi na-asụ oyibo, and ka ha sokwalụ n'ihe a na-eme. And na a na-afụ onye na-asụ Igbo ka ọ bụrụ ndị si oyibo sị na local champion, mana kedu onye ka bụrụ local champion na ị na-asụ asụsụ nne gị na nna gị, asụsụ obodo gị ka iji bụ local champion? Ọkwa kịta anaghị eme village boys, ọkwa ndị ime obodo, ọkwa ofu ime obodo a ka a na-akịta si na-ebido village boys na city boys. So ihe mụnwa na-achọ ikwu bụ ka ndị nne na nna na-eme ụdị omume a ka ha hapụ ya, maka na ụmụazị ka ha na-egbu. Maka na gị na ụmụ gị ama agbanwe izu, unu nọ n'ogige ebe ndị obodo ọzọ nọcha, ndị obodo a ndị Yoruba asụọ langweji ha eme anụ ihe ha kwu, ndị Hausa asụọ nke ha eme anụ ihe ha kwu, mana gị nwa bụ onye Igbo gị na ụmụ gị ama asụnwa Igbo, unu asụ oyibo, unu sụrụ oyibo anụ ihe unu kwu ozugbo, unu ama agbanwe izu. So ana m agwa ndị mmadụ, ndị nne na nna, maka ha nwa mere ụmụ ha ihe a, ọ bụrụ ụmụazị ka m nwa na blame, mana ndị nne na nna ụfọdụ anọgo n'iru m si ụmụ ha sụọ onye n'oyibo. I've warned you not to speak that thing, to stop speaking that thing wee bụrụ Igbo, maka na nwatakịrị sụrụ Igbo. And anọgokwa m etinye nwa ihe maka na ọ sụrụ Igbo. So ịnọlụ na-ene anya esi otu a ka ọgụgụ isi ndị a si wee dịdebe. Mana anyị na-ayọ ha biko, ọkwa maka ọdịmma mụ na ha ka anyị eji wee na-asụ Igbo, ka anyị ghara ile onwe anyị n'aka ndị ilo anyị. Maka ịnọlụ na ogige ndị ilo gbago okilikili, ihe ya eji napụta onwe gị bụ ịgba izu wite nwa gị ma nwanne gị ma ọ bụ onye obodo unu, maka na ịsụrụ anya n'oyibo ama na kacha mbụ jide ya.
maka nke bụ eziokwu bụ na dịka i kwuru asụsụ Igbo anwụgokwa anwụọ mana site na amara Chineke sitekwa na mbọ Igbo efula na-agba asụsụ Igbo agaghị anwụ. Ofu ihe bụkwa ihe nke a ga-eme bụ anyị bidokwa n'isi na-achị azụ ndị Igbo ebe anyị siri dapụ, maka n'eziokwu mgbe m na-eto ọ bụ asụsụ Igbo ka anyị ji wee too. A na-asụ ya n'ezinụlọ ọbụla ndị nne na nna bụ asụsụ Igbo ka ha ji agwa ụmụ ha okwu, mana oge dị ugbu a ndị nne na nna adịghị ejizi asụsụ Igbo ezi nwa ha ozi maọbụ gwa ha okwu, ọ wụzi asụsụ Bekee. Ha na-eche n'ime obi ha na asụsụ Igbo bụ ijiri ya na-agwa nwa gị okwu mebi onwe ike ọ bụrụ itibọrịbọ maọbụ ndị mmadụ asị na nwa nke a bụ nwa si n'ime obodo wee kpọpụta, mana ọ bụghị eziokwu. Maka na amachara m na ndị oke mmadụ Igbo ji eme ọnụ ha ncha niile toro na ime obodo Igbo ka ha ji wee too. Nne na nna ha soro ha Igbo ha wee too jee n'ụlọ akwụkwọ mụta ka esi asụ Bekee. Mana ihe na-emezi kịta gbagwojuru anyị anya. Ahịrịọ anyị bụ ihe a ga-emekwa ka Igbo anyị hapụ ịna cha bụ anyị naghachi n'ụlọ anyị bido n'isi wee kụziere ụmụaka anyị Igbo. Anyị a na-akụziri ụmụaka anyị Igbo? Ụfọdụ ndị nne na nna anyị, ndị nne ndị nna ha amazikwa ka esi asụ Igbo nwa. Ya bụ na anyị nche a kwesịrị ịnaghachi azụ ebe anyị si dapụ wee si ebe a malitekwa wee pụtawa. Onye nwa butekwara mmemme anyị na-eme n'ụbọchị taa. Isiokwu anyị ji wee bụrụ nne ewu na-ata agba nwa ya na-ene anya n'ọnụ. Ya bụ o sitere anyị n'aka. Anyị bụ ndị nne na nna ga-ebidogodu ụmụ anyị wee sonyere anyị.
Emume a bụ iji wee kwalite asụsụ Igbo n'ihi na ọ dị oke mkpa na nwata akwụkwọ ọbụla ga-amụtarịrị etu esi asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo, n'ihi na asụsụ Igbo dị oke mkpa maka ọ ga-enye nwata akwụkwọ ọbụla aka inwe ike kọwaa onwe ya ebe ọbụla ọ hụrụ onwe ya, nwee ike gosipụta omenala ndị Igbo, ejiji ndị Igbo, nri ndị Igbo na ụfọdụ ihe ndị Igbo ọzọ dịgasịkwa iche iche. So ọ dị oke mkpa na nwata akwụkwọ ọbụla ga-amụtarịrị etu esi asụ ma na-emekwa gịnị na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo nke ọma. Ihe mere o ji dị ka ga-asị na ụfọdụ ụmụ akwụkwọ amaghị asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo bụ n'ihi na ọtụtụ ndị nne na nna anaghị asụrụ ụmụ ha asụsụ Igbo. Ọ bụ ya mere anyị ji akwado ha, na-enyekwa ha na-eme ka ha mara mkpa ọ dị ịsụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo, n'ihi na ọ ga-enyere ha aka ka ha nwee ike mara, ka ha nwee ike dị iche n'ebe ụmụaka ndị ọzọ nọ, ndị si na mba ọzọ nọ, nke pụtara na ọ bụrụkwa na ha gaa mba dị iche iche dịka mba ofesi, ha sụọ Igbo, ha sụọ asụsụ ha, o wee gosipụta na ha sikwa n'ala Igbo wee pụta. Ọ bụ ya mere o ji dị mkpa ka nwata akwụkwọ ọbụla wee mara ka esi asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo. Ọ dịkwa mkpa ka ndị nne na nna anyị n'ebe dị iche iche wee nwee ike na-akụzikwara ụmụ akwụkwọ anyị, ụmụ ha na ndị ọzọ, ndị agbata obi ha niile etu esi asụkwa ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo.
Taa bụ mmemme ịkwalite asụsụ Igbo. Ihe m chere maka mmemme a bụ na ọ bụ usoro a ga-esi gosipụta uru ọ dị ka nwata ọbụla mara otu esi na-asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo. Ọ na-egosikwa mkpa ọ dị ka onye ọbụla mara otu esi asụ asụsụ Igbo. Ụmụ akwụkwọ ọbụla kwesịrị ịma ihe gbasara ndị Igbo ma otu esi asụ ma na-ede Igbo. Ọ na-ekuzikwa otu esi asụ Igbo ma na-edekwa ya. Bido mgbe m dị obere, nne m na nna m na-adị akụzikwa m, na-agwakwa anyị na-asụ Igbo, na-agwa anyị ihe n'Igbo, na-agwakwa ha n'Igbo, na ijikwa na Bekee wee gwa ha okwu. M na-agwakwa ha na ọ ga-adịkwa mma ka bido mụta otu esi asụ Igbo, maka ọ bụ ihe dị mkpa ka nwa Igbo ọbụla mara otu esi asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ nke ha. O nwere mgbe m ga-anọ na-ajụ dịka onye ga-ekpere ha ekpere n'Igbo, m wee pụta kpecha ekpere, akwọrọ m aka nke ọma, wee gwakwa m na ọ bụ ezigbo ihe na mma otu esi asụ ma na-edekwa asụsụ Igbo, ma bụrụkwa ezigbo nwatakịrị azụrụ ọfụma ịma otu esi asụ ma na-ede asụsụ Igbo. M ga-agwa ha na ịmụta asụsụ gị bụ ihe obi ụtọ ma bụkwa ihe ụmụaka ọbụla kwesịrị ịma. Anyị macha na Bekee dị mkpa, mana ọ ga-adịkwa mma ka ịmakwa asụsụ nke gị ebe isi malite ma makwa otu esi asụ wee na-ede ya, ka ihe na-agara gị nke ọma, ka ịmakwa ebe isi, ka mmadụ ghara ịrapụta gị n'iji asụsụ nke gị kwesịrị ịma nke ọma.
Ihe anyị na-eme taa bụ emume ncheta Igbo efula. Anyị nọ n'ọba akwụkwọ Enugu steeti na Naịjirịa. ihe niile mere taa dị mma. Ọ bụkwa ezigbo ihe icheta na Igbo efula, Igbo agaghị efu. Anyị kwesịrị ị na-asụ Igbo n'ihi na ọ bụ asụsụ anyị. Anyị ekwesịghị iji maka asụsụ natara anata rufu asụsụ nke anyị. Ọ dị mkpa ị na-asụ Igbo dịka ha si ekwu, Igbo efula, Igbo agaghị efu. Ndị nkụzi na-akụzi Igbo na-eme anwakwa, ha na-anwakwa, ha na-eme ike ha ịfụ na Igbo bụ ihe dị mkpa, bụrụ ihe a na-eme n'ụlọ akwụkwọ ọbụla na Naịjirịa, ọkachasị n'ụlọ akwụkwọ m. Nkwalite Igbo dịsi ike na skuul anyị. Ebe ọ kakwa mkpa ịmụta Igbo bụ n'ezinụlọ, n'ihi na a sị na amawa mma amara ya n'ụlọ wee pụtawa ezi. Ịsụ Igbo bụ na ụlọ ka a ga-anọ wee mụta ya wee pụtawa. Ọ bụ nne na nna kwesịrị ịkụziri ụmụ ha Igbo, apụtazi n'ụlọ akwụkwọ amara na ọ bụ inyere aka mgbazi ka a ga-eme ha.
Ihe anyị eme iji kwalite asụsụ Igbo anyị obuka, mana ebe anyị ebidodo n'ezinụlọ anyị na-enwe ebe anyị si wee pụta. Anyị ebidodo ụlọ anyị na ezinụlọ ebe anyị si wee pụta wee kwalite ya. Ka anyị si kwalite ya bụ anyị na-asụrụ ụmụaka anyị Igbo, na-asụ Igbo, were ya na-ekwu okwu, were ya na-ekpe ekpere, were na-ezi ụmụaka ozi, were na-akụzi ụmụaka ihe. Anyị emewe otu a ka anyị esi wee kwalite ya. Anyị etinye egwu ya ọnụ, mana mgbe oge na-atụghị anya unu ya anụ ihe anyị kwutere.
A sị na ntị ga-anụ ihe abụghị ma ọha ka okpu ata. Ịnụgo ọtụtụ ihe ndị mmadụ kwu, ịnụgo ndụmọdụ niile enyere. Ọ bụrụ na asụsụ Igbo na-amasị gị, sonyela anyị mgbe ọbụla anyị na-asụ asụsụ Igbo ka anyị kwalite asụsụ anyị. Dịka esi wee kwuo na asụsụ Igbo na-anazi ana, mana anyị agaghị ekwe ka asụsụ anyị na. Ọ bụrụ na iso na ndị ahụ ga-asị na asụsụ anyị ama nna, sonyela anyị na Aneke TV mgbe ọbụla anyị na-asụ asụsụ Igbo ka anyị kwalite asụsụ anyị, maka na nke anyị bụ nke eji mara anyị. Anyị agaghị ekwe ka asụsụ anyị na. Aneke TV agaghị ekwe ka asụsụ anyị na. Gị bụ onye na-enene anyị, ekwekwana ka asụsụ anyị na. Abụ m Ngozi Ọtahumele, ka ọ dị m.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Good afternoon and welcome to the news update on Aneke TV, your trusted window to major developments across Nigeria and the global community. I'm Good Hope Chukuma, glad to have you join us. Headlines. President Bola Tinubu advocates state police calls for safeguard against abuse. On the foreign scene, President Donald Trump signals possible military action amid stalled nuclear talks. On business, gas supply shortfall disrupts national grid operations. Now the news in details. President Bola Tinubu has urged the House of Representatives to fast-track constitutional amendments for the establishment of state police across the country. The president made a call during an interfaith iftar dinner with members of the Green Chamber in Abuja, stressing that security challenges require localized responses backed by constitutional safeguards. He maintained that while security is fundamentally local, any decentralized policing system must include strict checks and balances to prevent abuse by state authorities. The president referenced experiences from the First Republic when regional security outfits were allegedly used to suppress political opposition. The president noted that its centralized policing structure is increasingly overstretched in addressing banditry, kidnapping, and insurgency affecting forest and rural communities nationwide. He emphasized that constitutional amendment for state police would require a two-thirds majority in both chambers of the National Assembly and approval by at least 24 state houses of assembly. President Tinubu also commended lawmakers for supporting his administration's economic reforms, including fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the naira. He expressed optimism that ongoing reforms are repositioning the country toward sustainable growth as the National Assembly prepares to resume plenary in March. The Anambra state government has demolished the shrine of popular native Dr. Chidozie Nwangu, also known as Akwokoko Tiwaraki, following a ruling of the State High Court in Awka. The demolition took place in Oba after the court sentenced Nwangu to 11 months imprisonment. Justice Jude Obiora convicted Nwangu on charges relating to money rituals and the preparation of charms linked to criminal activities. The initial 2-year sentence was reduced to 11 months, taking into account the 13 months already spent in detention. Operatives of the state Aguna Chamber security outfit carried out the court-ordered demolition, removing ritual objects and dismantling structures at the site before setting the remains ablaze. The action is in line with Anambra State Homeland Security Law, aimed at curbing criminal activities linked to ritual practices. The court further directed that upon release, the convict would serve as an ambassador for youth reorientation by publicly denouncing ritualism on his social media platforms. He is to serve his term at the Awka Correctional Center. Operatives of the Enugu State Police Command have arrested 4 male suspects in separate intelligence-led operations and recovered 3 stolen vehicles linked to criminal activities in Enugu and Anambra states. On 26 February 2026, operatives attached to the Central Police Station, in collaboration with the Neighborhood Watch Group, arrested 22-year-old Teso Jesu Efonso at Chris Kemis roundabout, Enugu. He was apprehended while attempting to escape with a stolen Toyota Hiace bus, allegedly started with a master key. The suspect has been arraigned and remanded in a correctional facility. In a separate operation, the Anti-Cultism Tactical Squad arrested 36-year-old Ugwanye Samuel, also known as Sammy Black, identified as a member of the Supreme Vikings Confraternity. He was found with a red Toyota Camry linked to a 2022 kidnapping incident in Obunike, Anambra State, where a victim was abducted and later released after ransom payment. Earlier, 2 other suspects, Chinonso Onyibe and Nwankwo Uchenna Samuel, were arrested in Okonano, Enugu. A Toyota Matrix reported snatch at gunpoint in Awka was recovered. Commissioner of Police CP Maman Bitrus Giwa reaffirmed the command's commitment to combating crime and urged residents to provide credible information. Former Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure in Enugu State, Engineer Greg Nnaji, has assumed office as the State Project Coordinator of the Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project, RAMP. Engineer Nnaji took over from Acting Coordinator Mr. Boniface Mado during a handover ceremony at the State Project Implementation Unit office in Enugu. He expressed appreciation to Governor Peter Mbah for the appointment. The new coordinator pledged to consolidate ongoing efforts to ensure timely delivery of rural road and agricultural infrastructure projects in accordance with approved specifications and donor requirements. He described RAMP as critical to enhancing rural connectivity and agricultural value chains. Engineer Nnaji, a civil engineering graduate of the former Anambra State University of Technology, now Enugu State University of Science and Technology, is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers. He assured strict compliance with standards set by funding partners, including the World Bank. Former senior officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) have expressed concern over provisions in the newly signed Electoral Act 2026, warning of possible implementation challenges ahead of the 2027 general election. Speaking at the Yaga Africa Roundtable in Abuja, former National Commissioner Festus Okoye highlighted inconsistencies in sections dealing with electronic transmission of results. He noted that outdated references to the smart card reader remain in the law alongside the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, BVAS. The experts drew attention to Section 60 of the Act, which mandates electronic upload of results to the INEC result viewing portal while maintaining manual forms as the basis for final collation. They warned that the dual provision could trigger legal disputes and erode public confidence. The stakeholders called on the National Assembly to urgently harmonize the Act and avoid embedding specific technologies in legislation, noting that rapid technological advancement requires flexible legal drafting to safeguard electoral integrity. Former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and his son, Abdulaziz Malami, have been granted bail in sum of 200 million naira each by the Federal High Court in Abuja over terrorism financing and firearms-related charges. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik ruled that defendants must provide 2 sureties each, including one with a developed property in either Asokoro or Maitama, Abuja. The court, however, ordered that the former minister remain in custody over a separate 16-count charge bordering on alleged corruption filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The FCC alleges involvement in money laundering and unlawful acquisition of assets valued at over 8.7 billion naira. The Department of State Services had also alleged that an illegal firearm and ammunition were recovered during a search of his residence in December 2025. Malami's wife, Asabe, was equally arraigned on amended fraud charges and remanded at the Suleja Correctional Center. The court nullified previous bail arrangements following reassignments of the case, with fresh applications expected ahead of the trial scheduled for March 2026. This news update is coming to you live from Aneke TV. Remember, you can stay connected with us on all social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Aneke TV. Now a quick recap of the major stories making the news. President Bola Tinubu pushes for state police, 6 strong safeguards. Coming up shortly on the foreign scene, President Donald Trump hints at possible strikes as nuclear talks stalls. On business, gas scarcity continues to weaken national grid. We'll be right back.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Welcome back. At least 11 people have been confirmed dead following the crash of a Bolivian Air Force C-130 Hercules military cargo aircraft in El Alto. The aircraft reportedly skided off the runway while attempting to land at El Alto International Airport during a hailstorm and collided with vehicles along a nearby road. Aviation authorities said the flight originated from Santa Cruz and was transporting a consignment of banknotes to the Central Bank of Bolivia. Dozens of persons sustained varying degrees of injuries and have been taken to nearby medical facilities for treatment. Security operatives were deployed after residents reportedly gathered at the crash site in an attempt to collect scattered currency. Bolivia's defense minister, Marcelo Salinas, warned that the banknotes were not legally valid as they had not been issued or serialized, urging the public to stay away from the wreckage. Investigations have commenced to determine whether the crash was caused by adverse weather conditions or mechanical failure. The airport has been temporarily closed as emergency teams clear debris and forensic experts work to identify victims. At least 2 persons have been confirmed dead and about 40 others injured following a tram derailment in Milan, Italy. The incident occurred alongside Viale Vittorio Veneto during the city's Fashion Week activities. Authorities say the Line 9 tram veered off its tracks, struck a traffic signal and crashed into the frontage of a restaurant. One of the deceased was identified as a 60-year-old pedestrian who was hit during the derailment. Milan Mayor Giuseppe Sala confirmed that the driver, described as experienced, had been on duty for about 1 hour before the incident. He noted that a scheduled stop was reportedly missed shortly before the crash, raising further questions for investigators. Emergency responders evacuated trapped passengers and treated victims at temporary triage points. Italian Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni expressed condolences while investigations continue into possible mechanical failure or medical emergency. United States President Donald Trump has warned that force may be considered if diplomatic efforts over Iran's nuclear program fail. The president made the remarks during an event in Texas, expressing dissatisfaction with the outcome of recent negotiations in Geneva. The latest round of talks reportedly ended without a firm commitment to Tehran abandon its nuclear ambitions. While mediators from Oman say dialogue remains ongoing, Washington has signaled growing impatience. The United States has maintained a significant military presence in the Middle East, including aircraft carrier strike groups positioned in the region. The State Department has also designated Iran as a state sponsor of wrongful detention amid rising tensions. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to hold further consultations with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Diplomatic engagements are ongoing as the international community monitors developments closely. Italy has advised its citizens to leave Iran immediately due to deteriorating security conditions in the Middle East. The directive was issued by the Italian Foreign Ministry, targeting tourists and non-essential personnel. Rome has also discouraged travel to Lebanon and Iraq, urging Italians in Israel to exercise maximum caution. The advisory comes amid heightened regional tension and stalled nuclear negotiations. The United Kingdom has reportedly closed its embassy in Tehran and withdrawn diplomatic staff, citing security concerns. Other governments are reviewing their presence in the region. The development follows renewed statements by U.S. President Donald Trump indicating a tougher stance on Iran. International observers say diplomatic efforts are continuing to prevent further escalation. Nigeria's power generation has dropped to about 4,300 megawatts due to severe gas supply constraints. The Nigerian Independent System Operator NISO disclosed that thermal plants are receiving less than half of the required gas volume. Thermal stations, which account for the majority of the country's electricity generation, required about 1.6 billion standard cubic feet of gas daily. Current supply is estimated at about 692 million cubic feet, significantly affecting output. The shortfall has led to nationwide load shedding to stabilize the grid and prevent system collapse. Peak electricity demand in the country exceeds 20,000 megawatts, widening the supply gap. Industry stakeholders attribute the crisis to maintenance activities by gas suppliers, legacy debts, and infrastructure challenges. Authorities say efforts are ongoing to restore adequate supply and improve grid stability. Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, MEDL, says the drop in electricity supply across its network in Enugu State is due to inadequate gas supply to thermal generating plants nationwide. In a statement issued in Enugu, the company's spokesman, Mr. Emeka Eze, said the development has reduced overall energy generation and the allocation available to the company. He explained that the Nigerian Independent System Operator is implementing load shedding across the national grid to maintain stability, thereby affecting supply to MEDL customers. The company assured residents that the challenge is system-wide and not peculiar to its network, adding that engagements with stakeholders are ongoing to improve supply as gas availability stabilizes. The Anambra State government has announced plans to commence demolition and remodeling of sections of the Onitsha main market as part of an urban renewal program. Governor Charles Oludo disclosed this during a meeting with representatives of affected traders in the government house, Oka. He said the exercise followed the expiration of notices earlier issued to shop owners. The governor stated that the market's infrastructure has deteriorated significantly, citing blocked walkways, inadequate parking spaces, and poor sanitation as major concerns. He noted that 3 of the 5 original parking lots have been lost to encroachment. Governor Soludo appealed for cooperation from traders, assuring them that the redevelopment is aimed at improving safety, functionality, and long-term economic viability. The remodeling exercise is scheduled to commence immediately. The Enugu State government has approved a 90-day amnesty window for property owners without building approvals to regularize their documents. The exercise will be implemented by the Enugu State Geographic Information System Service, ENGIS. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of ENGIS, Mr. Chinwetalu Nwatu, said property owners are required to submit as-built drawings for approval within the stipulated period. He added that individuals without existing drawings should engage certified architects to prepare the necessary plans reflecting current structures. All submissions through ENGIS. The agency further directed that no building plan approval will be granted without registered land title, including a certificate of occupancy or registered deed of assignment, emphasizing strict compliance going forward. Nigeria accounted for 52% of African crude oil exports to the United States in 2025, according to data from the United States Census Bureau. The figures indicate that Nigeria exported over 46 million barrels during the year, although export volume declined by about 8.2% compared to the previous year. Nigeria's share increased as other African producers recorded sharper drops in shipments. The total export value fell from $4.4 billion to $3.5 billion, reflecting reduced global demand and market fluctuations. Analysts note overall U.S. imports of African crude declined during the period. Experts have advised Nigeria to diversify its export base beyond crude oil to strengthen trade relations and improve long-term economic resilience. Now in sports, Nigerian goalkeeper Amas Obasogie has been suspended for 3 months by Tanzanian club Singida Black Stars over allegation of misconduct. The action followed an incident during a league match against Namungo FC. The club confirmed that an internal investigation is ongoing to determine the circumstances surrounding the stoppage time goal that resulted in a 1-1 draw. Obasogie, who has featured for Nigeria's national team, joined the Tanzanian side from Ethiopia club Fasio Kenema. The suspension takes immediate effect pending the outcome of investigations. Club authorities say further decisions will be taken in line with findings and regulations of the Tanzanian Football Club governing body. Head coach of Wolverhampton Wanderers, Rob Edwards, has condemned racist abuse directed at Nigerian striker Tolu Arokodare following a missed penalty in a Premier League match against Crystal Palace. The club confirmed that it has reported the matter to relevant authorities and is providing support to the player. The United Kingdom Football Policing Unit has commenced investigations into the incident. Coach Edward described the abuse as unacceptable and called for stronger action by social media platforms to curb online hate and discrimination. Wolverhampton Wanderers reiterated its zero-tolerance stance on racism and pledged full cooperation with investigators to identify those responsible. Now in entertainment, popular Nigerian social media influencer Mukoro Michelle, known as King Michi, has died in Abuja. Her management confirmed that she passed away at a private hospital despite efforts to save her life. The management disclosed that she had been hospitalized following a medical emergency. Family members have requested privacy as they mourn her passing. The incident has generated widespread reactions across social media, with colleagues and followers expressing condolences to the bereaved family. Authorities have not released further details, while supporters continue to call for increased awareness on responsible online engagement. Marketing strategist Oboho Usemwegie has raised concerns about what she described as a growing creativity gap in the entertainment industry. Speaking at a media forum, she noted that increased focus on digital metrics and viral content is overshadowing originality and long-term brand storytelling. Osemwegie said while digital platforms provide extensive reach, excessive reliance on algorithm-driven trends may weaken authentic audience engagement. She called on industry stakeholders to balance data-driven strategies with innovative and meaningful content development to sustain growth in the sector. And finally, before we go on the news, a recap of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu has renewed his call for the establishment of state police, urging the National Assembly to expedite constitutional amendments while putting in place strict safeguards to prevent abuse by state authorities. The president stressed that decentralized policing must be backed by accountability mechanisms to protect democratic freedoms. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump has signaled the possibility of military action as negotiations over Iran's nuclear program remain inconclusive. The development comes amid heightened diplomatic tensions and continued international efforts to reach a peaceful resolution. On the business front, gas supply shortages have significantly reduced electricity generation across Nigeria, weakening the national grid. The Nigerian Independent System Operator says thermal power plants are operating below capacity due to inadequate gas supply, resulting in load shedding and reduced power distribution nationwide. That's news update on Aneke TV. For more news and live updates, follow us across all social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Aneke TV. I'm Good Hope Chukuma, thanking you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Every second, the world changes, markets rise, leaders speak, stories unfold. To keep up, you don't just need news, you need clarity, you need speed, you need perspective.
That's why Aneke TV brings you the global pulse. Accurate, reliable, right when it matters most. Aneke TV. Move with the world.
Peace is not passive. It is built. It grows through tolerance, justice, and mutual respect. Without peace, development is a dream. We all play a role, from homes to nations, choosing peace in our actions and words can transform the world. Be a peacemaker.
Need ad replacements, coverage for events, or the latest news stories? Call 070-3043-7110 right now. Aneke TV, move with the world.
Once again, in a special way, we welcome you to Security Watch on Aneke TV. It is the program whose duty it is to place a check on the security of lives and property in our nation. It also makes robust suggestions on how to reduce insecurity to the barest minimum, or even to bring insecurity to an end if it is possible. And I think it's possible. You can always find us on our socials, our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok, and our YouTube on Aneke TV. Thank you so much for being there. My name is Chukwuemeka Obasi, and today we are looking at the fire safety and control. Thank you so much. Permit me to introduce to you our guest on the studio today. We have a high-profile and prominent personality, a director, or the director, Enugu State Fire Service. He also measures up as a fellow Nigeria Society of Engineers. Engineer Opudule Oha is here on the studio. Chief, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. How are you today, sir?
I'm cool.
Okay. How do you feel doing your job as a fire officer?
I feel blessed. I feel privileged to be in a position to serve my state, to serve humanity, and to serve the whole world. I feel privileged.
All right. Thank you so much. Then when we mention fire safety and control, what are we really talking about?
We are talking of all those measures or actions that we have to take to make sure that there is still no avoidable fire outbreaks. Those things that can make us to be fire safety. Those things that can make our environment to be free from fire outbreak. That's what we are talking about when we say fire safety and control or fire control.
Okay, then whose responsibility can we say it is to measure this safety of fire and control?
It's a responsibility of everybody to measure it. If what we mean is to do the needful to make sure that we are compliant to fire safety measures. It's the responsibility of everybody, because there is a saying which we normally say that somebody who is available when fire started is far more important than a firefighter. That's why we take our fire education far and beyond to make sure that all the citizens, all the people that are residents in Enugu State know something or know what they're supposed to do to prevent fire outbreak, and for them to know what to do in case if there is unavoidable fire outbreak. So to measure fire safety and control is responsibility of everybody that is living in Enugu State if we want to narrow it down to our state. But in everywhere you are responsible. Fire department is just an authority to make sure that people comply with fire safety measures and to make sure that if there is a fire outbreak that they attend to it. But how do we control? How do you observe fire safety? It is the responsibility of every individual around every environment.
All right, Director, let us quickly bring it to the causes of fire outbreak.
Yeah, we have 3 main causes of fire outbreak. We have the act of carelessness, we have natural cause, we have willful acts. And if I break them, if I discuss them one after another, most cause of fire outbreak in this part of the world is caused by number 1, which is act of carelessness. Act of somebody not doing what he's supposed to do to prevent fire outbreak. The act of somebody being careless, being negligent of some certain actions, or not doing what the person is supposed to do. That is one. Then the next one.
Chief, please, before you go to that one, what are those things the person is supposed to do that is negligence of?
Yeah, of course, there's so many things. For example, if we take the time we are in now, which is dry season stroke hammer time, if you don't clear your environment of bushes and there's a fire outbreak caused by maybe hunters or herders, bushfire that made the fire to spread to your residential building is as a result of your carelessness, because you're supposed to have cleared your surroundings of bushes. Again, if you don't switch off all your electrical appliances when you are leaving your home, as we are here in Aneke TV, and maybe when you left, there was no fire, there was no electricity, and you forgot to switch off all your electrical appliances, and when they brought back the light, as a result of you didn't switch off all those your electrical appliances which you're supposed to switch off, and there was a fire outbreak, it is an act of carelessness on your side or my side if I'm the one responsible. If after work the staff of Aneke TV forgot to switch off the electrical appliances and go home, and maybe somewhere along the line the authority restores electricity and there was overheating or power surge that resulted in fire outbreak, it is an act of carelessness, because our teaching is that you switch off all your electrical appliances when they are not in use.
Okay, you are talking about the causes of
yeah,
fire outbreak.
what I meant by carelessness. If somebody is using a pressing iron to straighten his clothes, and the person maybe due to one thing or the other didn't unplug the electrical iron and start attending to other things, maybe due to heating, the electrical iron and ignited fire by putting fire on the clothes, it's an act of carelessness. If after smoking cigarette, for those people that smoke, because we are in dry season, and the person refuse to put off the cigarette end and maybe throw it into the bush, and maybe some moment later the cigarette end ignited fire in the bush, which spreads to residential, or even if it doesn't spread to residential building, it is an act of carelessness. That's not somebody not keeping his home. Lack of housekeeping can equally result in a fire outbreak, and these things they accumulate into carelessness. Let us talk of people who are using gas cooker. The safety measure or the safety control is that when you enter your kitchen, maybe you went out for work, when after work, when you came back, that before you put on your gas cooker, you're supposed to have opened the windows of your kitchen door for ventilations to come in and go out. And the failure to do that is an act of carelessness. You answering call while using gas cooker while cooking, which can ignite fire, is an act of carelessness. Somebody answering call in filling station is an act of carelessness. So most of these things, all these things I mentioned now, are acts of carelessness, and some other things which I will remember as the program goes on. I will continue telling us that these are the acts of carelessness can result in fire outbreak.
All right.
Overloading your electrical sockets is an act of carelessness.
All right, Director, thank you so much. You mentioned leaving our electrical appliances on when we are leaving the house.
Not only when we are leaving the house, even when we are not using them. If you are living in a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom flat and you are in the parlor and the radio in your room is on, the lights on your room, AC is on, when somebody is not in those rooms, it can cause a fire outbreak. And if it causes a fire outbreak, it's an act of carelessness. Because what we are preaching is not only when you are leaving home. Switch off all your electrical appliances that are not in use. There's no need, even economically wise, it's not useful that when you are not in your room that your light is on. What is the light on for? What is the light doing there? That AC is on. Why is the AC on? Because there's nobody there enjoying the AC. So the preaching or the gospel is switch off all your electrical appliances when they are not used. Not only when you are leaving your house, your home, your offices, or your industry. So if you have 2 offices or 3 offices here and nobody is in one of those offices, all the electrical appliances supposed to be off. Can even save energy for you. So that's what we are saying. It's not just when you are going.
Let's talk of refrigerator that will store things into the refrigerator for freezing. And when we are leaving the house, even when we are sleeping, it's always on. I know you are not an electrical engineer, but then a lot of times when we plug power surge, then plug that of refrigerator, is there any way the power surge can maybe prevent it from maybe anything fire burning, as case may be?
Yes, power surge helps in, it's not just not to cause fire, but what power surge normally do is to regulate the inflow of currents in order to make sure that the appliances that you plug on it will not burn. Because I say that you're supposed to switch off all your electrical appliances and you are trying to ask me what of the refrigerator that will know that have valuable things. So what we normally advise people, what I normally advise people, which I do, is to separate my fridge from other power source, to have a separate line for my fridge, and always placing your fridge where it cannot come in contact with any burning material like cotton, like clothes, like papers, so that even if there is a power surge or electrical fault, or even if it starts to burn, it cannot spread to other areas, because in this our country we don't have power always. So you can't tell somebody to switch off his fridge or freezer because it might cause a fire outbreak, because knowing that you don't know when power will come, you don't know when they will take it, and people have valuable items in the fridge. So what we normally say is take safety measures like separating your power, the line to your fridge. Let it be stand alone, and let your fridge or freezer be placed where it doesn't have any burning material around. And with our study and our investigation, most of the fire outbreaks doesn't come from fridge. It's not like AC that normally causes this thing. It's you have minimal fire outbreak as a result of a fault from fridge, because it is built in such a way that is fire resistant to a certain level. So, but we equally advise people, any place you are positioning your fridge, you make sure that there's no cut in there. That's something that assuming that it start burning, so that it will not have something to sustain the fire. So we are not advising people to switch their fridge on, so that the valuable items in the fridge will not. But every other thing, it's light bulb, wires that normally cause fire outbreak, electrical fire outbreak. So we're equally using this opportunity to advise our people to always make sure that they engage the services of qualified electricians and buying original electrical materials. And in that aspect, Nigerian wires are the best around this part of the world.
Okay.
Nigerian wires are very, very good. So that is where we were coming first, that it is preferable to foreign wires. So you make sure you use Nigerian wires, and you make sure you engage the services of a qualified electrician for him to do your wiring, for him to make sure that any place that there is electrical or naked wire that is sellotape, it uses sellotape to cover it, so that it will not come in, negative and positive will not come in contact, because when they come in contact, they can electrocute somebody, they can cause physical fire, which might come in contact with a burning material, and it will result in a fire outbreak.
All right, Chief, thank you so much. If you are joining us now, this is Security Watch on Aneke TV. I've been here with the Director, Enugu State Fire Service, Engineer Okudele Oha. Our topic is fire safety and control. Thank you so much for being there. Let's continue. Chief, we have seen vehicles that pick fire. Maybe some are parked and some are on motion. What normally, or how has that been the carelessness of the driver that such comes to happen?
Well, first of all, at times it's not as a carelessness of the driver. At times it's as a result of carelessness of a driver. Let me now dwell on the one caused by carelessness of a driver. I normally tell our people we should not, because of economic hardship, not do the right thing. You will see somebody that his vehicle developed electrical fault. Instead of him to engage the services of a qualified and sanctified auto mechanic or auto electrician, the person will now engage roadside auto electrician. And when you engage a roadside auto electrician who doesn't know the proper thing to do, he will do a half job. He may do wiring in your car without closing all those naked wires by using what we normally call sellotape. And when you are moving your vehicle, the two wires, negative and positive, may touch, and it will start fire. And the same thing goes to when you have leakage, when your exhaust pipe or your fuel tank is leaking, and you didn't take it to welder or to banner beater to do proper work. It's a kind of carelessness. But some people will say, nah, as far as this motor is moving, let me be managing it. And again, if you buy a car of 20 million, 10 million, 3 million, and you don't have fire extinguisher, you are careless and you are a fool. If I can bring out 10 million to buy a car, but I cannot bring 20-something million to buy 2 kg DCP, in case
1,000.
Yes.
Or 20 something million.
20 something thousand for fire. I'm talking of fire extinguisher. Not 1 kg. 1 kg is around 16,700, but a sizable one. Because I see that 1 kg as not big enough, or the chemical content is not big enough to put off a fire that is happening in a SUV vehicle, or maybe a Hilux or something like that. So if I can bring out 10 million to buy a car, so why can't I bring 20 something thousand naira to buy a suitable and sizable fire extinguisher that I can use if there is a fire outbreak? But our people who so much believe in God, and who so much believe in my village people, they pursue me. When you have not done the right thing supposed to do, when you are encouraging somebody or giving somebody a professional advice or safety advice, that when you have a vehicle, when you have an office, when you have a home, you need to buy fire extinguisher in case of fire outbreak. Also, God forbid, Obara Jesus, it will not my portion. Who is it his portion? That is our problem in Africa. We believe in faith. Well, when I say faith, I mean FATE. That whatever happens is how God wants it. No, it's not true. God has given us power. God has given us the knowledge. God has given us the wisdom to make our environment safe. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to do the right thing. We need to do the needful, and then hope in God. We know that Bible says that if God does not protect a city, it is in vain that the watchers watch. But you must have a security man before God will help you. You cannot just say it's not my portion. You buy a vehicle that you know that it generates heat. You buy a vehicle or you build a house. Okay, why can't people build a house and stop putting burglary proofs and putting doors? You should leave your house open. Let us know whether your property will be there. And I tell people that fire is more dangerous than thieves. Because a real thief comes to your house or stops you, is to thief your valuable thing or things it seems to be valuable, except your life, your money, your jewelry, some valuable properties, and he will go. But fire doesn't have a conscience. I'm not talking of assassins, because those who are to kill, they will collect and kill. It's clear. Are you getting it? The thief, no thief is rare, but thieves, somebody who is just to thief or to stay or to eat, will just pick something he likes or he feels that he can get money from and go. But fire will burn everything, including you, if you cannot run away from fire. So why can't we value or fear fire more than other people? Somebody will buy a car, he will put tracker, he will put this, because so that people will not steal it. But you cannot buy a fire extinguisher, and the cheapest tracker is about 80,000 naira. So we even disable your tracker and carry your vehicle. Okay. But you cannot bring 20 something thousand to buy fire extinguisher. You cannot engage a fire officer, which you don't even pay, to teach you how to use those fire extinguisher and to teach you what you can do. And some people now, maybe when they see Aneke TV that we are talking of fire safety, the person will switch another thing. You cannot even listen to get valuable knowledge on how to prevent fire and on how to fight it, assuming it occurs. So what I'm trying to say is that the fire outbreak that involves cars can be out of carelessness, for the person not servicing his car when he's supposed to service it, for the person not engaging a professional when the car develops, whether it is electrical fault or any other fault that may result to a fire outbreak, is an act of carelessness. Some may say the economy is bad, but you are driving a car. Why not park your car and use your leg or enter public transport until you put your car in order? So these are why I say it's an act of carelessness.
All right. What are those aspects of it that are not out of carelessness?
Yes. When I was talking of, I say we have three main causes of fire outbreak. We have now talked about number one, which is an act of carelessness.
We are particular with drivers now. You've mentioned all of the actions of the driver that are carelessness, so to say. And you said there are other actions or there are other reasons if a car can pick fire that is not out of carelessness of the driver.
I may not clearly state what may be not why or when a car can catch fire without being out of carelessness. Okay. Because if it is not out of carelessness of the driver, it may be out of carelessness of another person. In 99.9% of causes of fire in Nigeria falls within carelessness. I've been in fire service for over 20 years. I've done foreign training, I've done investigations. It's an art of carelessness. Because if there's an accident, between the two drivers, one person must be at fault. If a panel beater is working on your car and it catches fire, it's as a result of that panel beater, not the driver. And you cannot park your car and your car will just catch fire. There must be a cause. And what is that cause? It must be as a result of maybe not the driver now. If you're not saying that now, it's not the carelessness of the driver.
All right, Chief, that is taken. Out of the 3 causes of fire outbreak, you've talked about the carelessness. There are these other 2. One is willful act, and then the other one
is natural act.
Natural act.
Yeah. In Nigeria, we don't normally have fire outbreak as a result of as nature. When we are talking of fire that can be caused by nature, we are talking of volcanic eruption. We don't have volcanic eruption. We don't have earthquake mostly in Africa.
True.
We don't have wildfires. So that's why most times we don't have lightnings. It's very rare for you to say that there's a fire outbreak as a result of lightning, thunder. Are you getting it now? So that's why we don't talk much about it, but we always tell people that when you are talking of how many causes of fire do we have, it's 3. The carelessness, the natural cause, and the willful act.
All right, let's come to the willful act proper.
Then when you are now talking of fire as a result of willful act, it's when somebody willfully, knowingly, put fire on anything. It may be trying to be winchous by putting fire in your neighbor's property out of jealous, out of envy, out of the person is progressing more than you. It may be as a result of you willfully, knowingly, intentionally putting your property on fire.
Your own property?
Yes, maybe to defraud insurance company, maybe to eat the money of your creditor, somebody who supply. Where we see this type of things, traders. Maybe you bought materials on credit. After selling the materials, you don't want to pay back. You will now put fire on your shop. We have had such cases.
You mean people do that?
Yes. And claim that fire burnt all the goods that was supplied to you on credit. People can be very malicious. People can be very winchous. People can be very devilish. We have seen a lot of things. Some people will put their shop on fire and come to us and tell us that they lost 1 billion naira. But I'm just giving an example. Should give them fire report. And when you now tell them that they will pay government 10%, they will start running because they didn't lose such amount of money. So these are on the cases of welfare, and so some of these Fulani cattle rearers or headers or whatever, or hunters, our local hunters, putting fire on bushes is willful act because you knowingly, intentionally, you are doing that, and it's life imprisonment. So these are the causes. That's why I said 99 points is carelessness, because through the special grace of God, it's not because of all this headers issue. Willful act Nigeria or this part of the world has reduced, because one of the things we did when we took over, or when I took over at the chief house, was going to all the markets, sensitizing them on the need. There's a market in Enugu, and let me not mention them. There's a market in Enugu that it is always customary that every year there will be a fire outbreak there. It was almost customary that whenever the leadership election is coming, there will be a fire outbreak. And that to discredit the sitting government or for one campaign group to score point against the other ones. And we went to them. We had our pansec then was Okuyana, Barrister Okuyanaga. I went to the market and we told them to their face that they are the people causing the fire outbreak. And that's like a magic. It stopped. That's why in some markets they say, if you have been living in Enugu for a long time, you know markets where there's always a fire outbreak then. It's not more common now. It's not more.
Yes, I'm aware.
And the government of the day now made us to do risk assessments in all our markets and make a report. And we did that. And we recommended to governments to buy fire extinguishers and install in all those markets. We installed fire extinguishers in more than 50-something major markets in the state, including those markets we hear that they're in the village, like Oriogu, like Timbasuka, like in Ubeze North and Ibeze. Most of those we picked in all the states, and we taught all the leaders and security on how to use those fire extinguishers. And they put it on them that a trained security man on how to use fire extinguisher is far better and far valuable than a firefighter that is miles away from that market. That anytime they see any atom of smoke or fire, they should use fire extinguisher. That is one of the secrets that has reduced fire outbreak in our markets. How many times have we heard that there's a fire outbreak in social market? If you are being observant, you know it because we enter the market, we sensitize them, we told them what they will know about them, we bought fire extinguisher for them, we installed fire extinguisher in the markets, we taught them how to use those fire extinguishers. If I tell you what the value of materials or value of property those fire extinguishers bought by previous government is saving the state and continued by this present government, you will know that government is working. That's why people are no more talking about fire service, fire this, fire that. It has been reduced to barest minimum. But people are not giving government credit on that. They are just talking about some little insecurity in terms of policing or kidnapping or this thing. But they are not praising government about fire safety. How this government, this present government, has sustained the effort of past governments in terms of our safety. Will it shock you now that in almost all the public buildings in the state has been, we have installed fire extinguisher in them, including the newly constructed bus terminals,
okay,
including ICC, including Ministry of Justice. It's not like that before. Immediately we go to the scene of fire. We can't do magic that the fire will just, everything there will not become normal. What we normally do is to make sure that fire does not spread an inch from where we met it.
Chief, before we come to that, you are doing an enormous job from the explanations you have given so far. I think more on fire extinguisher, the next time you be coming here, I think it is good you come in with fire extinguisher. So I demonstrate to our viewer on how to use it. So more on fire extinguisher, we have noticed that fire extinguisher, they appear in many colors. Some are red, some are black, some are blue, and so on. Their usefulness is as a result of the color, maybe their content is as a result of the color, or they are just uniformed in the usefulness.
Originally, we have different types of fire extinguishers. We have powder, we have cartridge, we have water, we have CO2, and we are going with colors. But with time, some of those fire extinguishers started phasing out, started being obsolete. When people started doing more research, we started questioning, why should we have water fire extinguisher? That water is commonly and easily available. And again, that for you to save your property, you don't need to use water to put off fire. Because if you have your documents and you are trying to save it from fire and you pour it water, you are still doing what? Destroying it. So now we came to a point that we have two major fire extinguishers, which is CO2 and DCP. DCP is dry chemical powder, and they are red. So, to answer your question, initially the coloring of fire extinguisher was based on the types and the maker. Some people choose red, some people choose black. Are you getting it now? Depends on it doesn't necessarily mean the content, but initially it was, but now not. Because you can see black that is CO2 and still see red that is CO2. It's just what the maker or the producer decides the color is actually. But normally fire extinguisher is red. Whether it is CO2, whether it's DCP, what gives you what identifies the content is what is written on it, the label it has, and the shape. Because CO2 is normally straight, while DCP is normally short.
All right, Chief, thank you so much. We are going to observe just a short break now. When we are back, you will tell us what people are supposed to do at noticing fire outbreak. Thank you so much. Let us observe a short break. We shall be right back. Don't go away.
Need advert placements, coverage for events, or the latest news stories? Call 070-3043-7110 right now. Aneke TV, move with the world.
All right, back from the short break. We are still on the program Security Watch on Aneke TV. Our topic for today is fire safety and control. And of course, I've been here with the director, Enugu State Fire Service, who is also a fellow Nigeria Society of Engineers. He's here, Engineer Okude Oha. Thank you so much, Chief, for coming.
Thank you.
Back from the break, before we went on the short break, you were supposed to tell us what people are supposed to do at noticing fire outbreak. What are the first things they are supposed to do?
The first thing someone is supposed to do when you notice a fire outbreak is to shout for help. It's fire, 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 fire. By doing that, you are creating awareness for people to know that there is danger. After that, the next thing is to call fire service. After you call for help, the next thing is to call fire service.
Who comes to help in that instance?
Fire service 1, neighbors 2. When you are calling for fire for help, you are alerting people. Even if there's people that are sleeping in the building on the property that is on fire, everybody will be at work. And your neighbors will know that you are in danger, that you have an emergency. People will gather. Because if you want to do it alone, you may not be able to. You may lose your life because somebody's whom his property is on fire always intend to be confused. You don't know what when you go inside your room, don't know what to save. Whether it's your money, whether it's your certificate, whether it's your child. So we will normally advise people to call for help so that people who call will just be saving anything they see and to even stop you from going in. Because if it is during the time where the treasurers of unions association keep cash, you'll be saying, if this money got burned, they will say I've eaten their money. You'll be confused, you'll be desperate, you'll be panicking. So that's why when you call for help and people comes, they help you to save your properties. While fire service is on their way. Because we advise people not just to wait for fire service. Do what you can before the arrival of fire service. That's why we say that a trained fire marshal is more important or valuable than a firefighter that is away of miles away from scene of fire. Any person that has knowledgeable and that is knowledgeable enough to put off a fire is far valuable than a well-trained firefighter that is miles away.
I wonder how an ordinary person can acquire that knowledge.
We have been conducting fire safety training. Those public buildings or government buildings will say we installed fire extinguishers. We don't install it without teaching people how to use them. It is even enacted in our law. You can't give somebody fire extinguisher without telling him how to use it. So that is how people acquire. If Aneke TV tomorrow writes us and tell us to come and conduct training for them, we'll come. And it's free. Once you have been complying with other fire safety measures, like having fire extinguishers, which I have seen some, like paying fire safety certificate. If you pay for a fire safety certificate, which is a only source of revenue to government from fire service, you are entitled to a training by fire officers who will come, teach you all these things I'm talking about, tell you what you have to do to prevent fire outbreak, tell you what you have to do if there is a fire outbreak. So it is your entitlement once you are paying for fire safety fee, which is the only source of revenue to government from fire service. That is why government doesn't see fire service as a revenue generating agency. When we attend fire, we don't charge. And I have to use this opportunity to tell our people, you don't pay fire service because your property is on fire and we are there to put it off. No. After they put off, they go. We'll go. If you call them and say, okay, take this one and buy Omo or something, it's on you. It's not a must. It's not government revenue. Because I will have to confess that some people still not minding their passing pens based on their property was burnt. At times they still observe, appreciate firefighters because of their bravery, because of their sacrifice. So, but on record and on constitution, you don't supposed to pay, and you don't ask anybody for appreciation. We can't put off your fire and ask you to no, we don't do that. And we don't pay revenue to government. The only revenue that is acquirable to government from fire service is issuance of fire safety certificate, which every business premises, every building supposed to have, and it is on yearly basis.
All right, Chief, thank you so much. You mentioned that at the instance of fire outbreak, one has to shout for help.
Yes.
And after that, you call fire service. Yes. But I'm aware that a lot of people don't have the numbers of the fire service. Are there emergency lines we can roll out now to the public that at the instance of fire, you'll be able to get access to the fire service by alerting them immediately?
Yes. We have about 13 fire stations and fire units. I will give phone number of 3 of them that covers the 3 sanitarian zones we have. Whenever there is a fire outbreak, call the nearest fire station. The state government has been doing enough to put up fire stations across the states. And our aim and our objective is to have fire stations in each of the local governments. So for now, I will give phone number of Nsuka Fire Station, I will give phone number of Ogui Road Fire Station, and I will give phone number of Oji River Fire Station, and the 4th one is 9th Mile Fire Stations. So I will give their phone numbers, you put it down. Anytime there is a fire outbreak within that vicinity, you call the nearest fire station. So Ogui Road Fire Station is 070 6540 9291. I will call it again, 070 6540 9291. Then in Nsuka Fire Station, the phone number is 0806 807 9367. I will call it again, 080 680 79367. Then Oji River Fire Station, the phone number is 080 328 9881. Then 9th Mile Fire Station.
Have you taken that second time?
Okay, let me take it second time. Oji River Fire Station, 090 323 89861. Then 9th Mile Fire Station, the phone number is 0904 299 7366. I will take 9th Mile Fire Station phone number again, 0904 299 7366. That is 9th Mile Fire Station phone numbers. These 4 fire stations, anytime you call us, we will attend to your fire emergency related calls.
All right, Chief, thank you so much for rolling out all of these contacts for separate locations in Enugu. Thank you. Let's continue. In an incident of fire outbreak, supposing one is trapped in the building, and there's always this smoke.
Morning headlines before you step out. Midday updates while you work. Evening analysis when the day winds down. Wherever life takes you, Aneke TV keeps you informed, connected, and ahead. Aneke TV. Move with the world.